Hell, I need you. I'm a mess without you. I miss you so damn much. I miss being with you. I miss being near you. I miss your laugh. I miss your scent. I miss your musk. When this all gets sorted out, I think you and me should get an apartment together.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
Drop your shorts and bend over, Mr. Babar.
We're honored to have with us today our amazing Vice President, Mike Pence, and his wonderful wife, Carrot. And you know, when you say per capita, this many per capita, it's like per capita relative to what? You have nobody guarding your potatoes. Once it was reluctantly aroused. It was hard to get it aroused, and it is hard to get it aroused, but we got it aroused.
Drop your shorts and bend over, Mr. Babar.
All right. Who wants some? Who's next? Moon River.
I couldn't think of a more horrible job if I wanted to. And you have to do it.
That's great psychology. Why don't you just say something bad about my mother?
I guess I do like black people. It just took a white one to prove it to me.
Lady, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store.
That was really cool, by the way. That was really cool, by the way.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
See this? This is my boomstick! Moon River.
Shut up and never say anything again as long as you live.
That was really cool, by the way.
Shop smart, shop S-smart.
What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole!
I never thought anybody could forget so much so fast without a severe blow to the head.
You have nobody guarding your potatoes. And you know, when you say per capita, this many per capita, it's like per capita relative to what?
A chat with you and somehow death loses its sting.
How, in the name of Zeus's butthole, did you get out of your cell?
Man's got to know his limitations.
Am I getting through to you? Alpha! Am I getting through to you? Alpha!
I love lamb.
Am I getting through to you? Alpha!
You stay classy, San Diego.
That was really cool, by the way.
Welcome. Good to see you guys. How are you? How's your afternoon going? Did you watch the Obama town hall? Did you enjoy it? Notes, thoughts below. This includes trolls. I appreciate you guys showing up daily, both here and in my feed and on Twitter. boosting my algorithm and giving me a jump I couldn't get organically. So thank you for botting out and helping the effort. I really do. At some point, I don't doubt you'll find a way, like you've done with some other left-wing YouTubers, to Patreon me even, or support me financially just to try and, tip me towards conversations you'd like me to have. But, I won't. I'll continue to talk about what I want to talk about. But I appreciate the effort and the cash and the attention. So, and everybody else who's here genuinely and organically, hello. I'm so glad to see you guys in even the virtual chat realm. Hi, everybody. It has been a long day. Robin watched it. Cool. Philly Dana, hello. Ben, yay, bot inadvertently helped. They always do. I don't know if they know that. It's so funny. Like, they don't recognize that bots only ruin things if you give a shit. Like, if you can't spot it, you get caught up. Because most of the work of like the fake accounts, and some are bots, some are actually, paid typists essentially, is to get you caught in a argument cycle with somebody and take the effort and attention and focus away from the issue you care about and fight with some, one follower fake account from Macedonia, so that you don't, so it ruins your day and it just kind of has this rolling effect and diminishes your appreciation of humanity. And, that's the mission. It's chaos. It has nothing to do with them actually convincing you. They just rather you be shouting into the wind for their benefit. So they don't get points by how they change your mind. They get points by how many times you respond and whether they've taken your attention away from actually being helpful to the issue that you care about. There you go. So, what's happening? How are you? Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Welcome. Hi. How you doing? Super fun. So I was trying to get the Trump interview with Sean Spicer, the full one. I may be able to dig it up as we, kind of go along. But in the interim, I have the Brian Dillweed Trump interview from Fox today, which is adorable. And there may be, a situation. Oh, Michelle, thank you. That's right. Yes, Michelle, right out of the gate, super chatting. It's over there, or it's over there. It's over there. Yeah, it's over there. There I am, backwards. Helping us buy 666 Fifth Avenue via super chats and Patreon and all that kind of stuff. And I know you say, Hal, you can't afford to buy 666 Fifth Avenue. Well, neither could Jared Kushner, and it didn't stop him. So everybody, feel free to contribute to that. We'll do another 666 telethon at some point very soon, like a 24-hour Twitch stream telethon. Like, help me. I'm only like, I think I'm only $1 billion short, so we could do it. Like, if everybody on Earth sent in like a dime, I mean, that's half of it. I mean, I don't even think I'd have to get a mortgage. Well, thanks, Bad Wolf. I appreciate that. Hi, Kyle's the other man who's drinking jam for that long. Oh, I see, Kyle. That's adorable and creepy and weird. And hello. I understand. And thanks for the follow, Lost in Translations. Good to see you. Hey, everybody. Christy, if you have if anybody has a spare billion, sure, just chuck it my way. But if you can't, we'll build it in increments. Death by a billion cuts, as it were, in trying to make it happen. That'd be good. So, I should just do I'll just set up a Kickstarter with worth $1 billion, and if I don't make the date, we'll just keep going until then. That would be hilarious. I'm not sure, quite frankly, how much I would have to, what like the down on that would be, even, like, because it's not even like a house, like 20% or something. It has to be something like insane, like $600 million or something along those lines. But if I did do it, it would just be like the most annoying building for the right wing ever. It would just have like, we just let, like BLM have a floor so they could, have a like free phone service and internet so they could coordinate campaigns and make sure that they're together, and then like Native American activist groups, and then like give free offices to the Humane Society on one floor, because I would own it outright, right? So I wouldn't need the money, and I would just write off those floors and eventually not have to pay any property taxes because it's basically a charity building. That, I'm just saying, it'd be pretty kick-ass. Of course, I would live in the top of it like a maniac. So there you go. Like that, buy Twitter, ban Trump. That's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, we do have our own Discord, so it's almost like our own Twitter without Trump. But there you go. It's a thought. Anyways, well, let's. If anybody, by the way, finds the link to the full Spicer interview today on Newsmax, feel free to send it to me, because I only have little pieces of it, little severed chunks, as it were, little turdlets from it. Yeah, the Sean Hannity story is pretty hilarious. Apparently, they have been separated for a good long while, and I guess the divorce has been going on under the radar for like a year or two, and it was finalized, and the story came out that they filed, but because it hasn't fully done it. I love the insane amount of detail you've thought your real estate aspirations. Well, thank you, Christina. I mean, you gotta have a goal and envision it, or it'll never come true. If I shoot for a building as big as 666 Fifth Avenue, maybe one day I land at just like a 10-story office building that I can hand out those. I mean, that would be pretty awesome, don't you think? You know what I mean? I don't know what the legal ramifications of being even able to do that, but if you own a piece of private property, one would think you could do that, correct? Yeah? So, yeah. I mean, why not? I just noticed that I was wearing a Hal Sparks shirt, and it makes me sad. Oh, I am not wearing a Hal Sparks shirt. It's just branding. Although I'm not afraid to wear my own shirt. My goal is to stay alive. That's a good one. It's a good goal to have. Depending on who you are, I personally don't. If you were someone like Jeffrey Epstein, for example, I wouldn't care if that was your goal. You know what I mean? It's not my business. Like, I don't seek for the demise and the death of people like that. It's far actively, as it were. But I will say that I'm not a. It doesn't. I don't have feelings either way. In terms of that, you know what I'm saying? See what I'm getting? Ooh. So yeah. There's the Brian Kilmeade press conference, leaked remarks. That's the teleconference. There we go. Breaking news interview. That's a Sean Hannity interview. That's not okay. We'll find it. I think they'll have it up at some point. So yeah. How long have I been trapped in your? Oh, good grief. I'm gonna buy Unsweet because it's one of my favorite Halbits. Excellent. Yes, it's a T-shirt. It's a little lopsided today because I was running around. And you might hear chainsaws in the background. We have a couple of fellows out there trimming our trees so that they don't fall in our neighbor's yard and cause, awkward consequences for their suntanning behavior. It's kind of hard to enjoy sipping your iced tea, getting a little vitamin D, soaking up some sunlight in 105-degree heat, and think everything's perfect in the world and a giant limb lands on you. That's not right. That's not cool. Trim your trees for your neighbor's sake, if not for your own. Rich, that happens to me. Yeah, YouTube will be a bit of a jerk, and occasionally I apologize to you guys. Hair is very, like, if you don't see the back of it, it looks very oh, Rebecca, your $20 supporter on Patreon. For some strange reason, they only took $7 for me on the monthly page. So I'm like, aw, thanks so much, Rebecca. Maybe they were giving you a break. I don't know. Yeah, and thanks, Can't Stop Lying. Good to see you. Yeah, smash the like, give us a thumbs up, pass the show around. Welcome, everybody. We only grow because you guys help us grow. I don't have an advertising budget. That's not what this show is about. But we're working on it. I have to say, though, I would stand my content up against anything that's currently airing. I would give you that. I mean, do I get distracted by technical issues every so often? Yeah, that happens. But at the same time, in between those crashes and burns, it's good stuff. It's a joy. It's fun. It's a fun time. I've now learned to have you guys be my live producer by checking the audio before we even get rolling. And in some cases, I might have to, pick up, midway through some of this stuff and see if it works. But piece by piece, as they say in China, man lai. You know what I'm saying? Little bits, slowly, and we will pick up on all this stuff. But let's go to the Brian Dillweed interview. By the way, little backstory that I think is kind of crucial in this situation. When I was on Talk Soup, we did. I was on Fox and Friends once, and I had we used clips from Fox and Friends of them being sort of relatively silly, right? And the amazing part was this was pre 9/11. So their behavior, their attitude, they were clearly a conservative network, but they were just they literally were trying to make Fox and Friends be like the Today Show or anything else. Just kind of not a particular slant, maybe, tip it that way occasionally. Thank you, Brian. But it wasn't overwhelmingly conservative. You could go on there and express a different view, and they wouldn't just try to jump on you with both feet. And Brian and Steve Ducey and they were the mainstays. They have been the mainstays. And then they would rotate people through, like Gretchen Carlson was on there for a little while. It was kind of relatively normal. And then 9/11 happened. And for whatever reason, beyond even just their regular, racist bigot panic that they went through, like Dennis Miller went through, where, some people just pivoted at 9/11. They were so panicked and so scared by it that it changed the direction of their character going forward in their life, that looking kind of, you can see the content of that show just yank right, my right, your left, yeah, I'll just do your right. And you literally can track it to that point. Before that, but when I was there, by the way, little backstory, this wasn't during, this was, I think, when I was filming an episode of Red Eye, which they, again, it was like a mid-zone, or like, let's bring on somebody who's a little liberal and bring, and they had their producer was so miserable, and he tried to be one of those miserable, but funny people, I'm a curmudgeon, but really it was just latent anger-ridden depression that was being brought to work, and everybody was just clearly laughing it off because they had to. And I called out that producer for being an unfunny jerk, essentially. I didn't go full out on it, but I chose not to take crap from them while I was on the air with them, and in between the breaks especially, which was really weird, and I was never asked back. But while I was there, I was live in studio, and I was waiting this hallway down this thing, and I kind of wandered off down to trying to find what would be effectively their green room in that area, and it was all partitions. It was in New York. And you could hear Sean Hannity on his phone, and I'm not sure if that was near his office or if he was walking around screaming at his wife and children. Just awful. Full-on grotesque anger. Like Alec Baldwin would go, dude, easy. And thank you, Bean Toast. And it was ugly. And you could tell everybody around was like, ooh, shit. And it was a regular occurrence. So when I found out that he's getting a divorce or whatever, like, okay, they've been separated for effectively years. It's been largely one of these like conservative farces. That said, a lot of the links that I'm seeing about this story are coming from page 6. And I would like to say, in terms of page 6 and TMZ and all those gossip sites, all of them can go to hell. I would rather go without the information they have than have them exist in the world, because let me explain something to you. While these folks are running stories about Sean Hannity's marriage woes and whether or not he and his wife stay together, which is immaterial to the truth or lack of truth that exists in the media he puts forth, immaterial to his messaging and fomenting of racial divides, and even the part where, like, a couple days ago, he was like, wear a mask when you go out, gee whiz, where he kind of came to when he realized this was all happening in red states where they tend to lose a lot of viewers if there's mass death. So it was out of self-interest, not like he had a come to Jesus moment, as it were. That I don't care relationship-wise. Thank you, Dark Fae. I don't care about their relationship, because for this one particular reason. Both TMZ and page 6 could not have known, had to have known, thank you, had to have known about Harvey Weinstein, had to have known about Bill Cosby, had to have known about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, had to have known. You don't get tips like the kind of stuff that they put forward about who, like, people who are in a relationship that's falling apart and who they're having lunch with, and run that like it's a real story, and not get the information on Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein and people like that, and Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump hanging out together. You don't miss the tip where, hey, Donald Trump called Forbes pretending to be someone else. You know what I mean? That's a page 6 or TMZ story, and they didn't cover it. What they covered was celebrities' marital woes and who's dating who and how long that relationship is lasting, making those people's lives a living hell, endangering their children by taking paparazzi pictures of them and posting them, all that shit that genuinely endangers people for the prurient interests of a section of our population who are, quite frankly, in my estimation, morally wrecked, that they need to watch some, they need to pick up a copy of People off on their way out of the grocery store just to see how shitty someone's relationship is going, or their, quote, last brave days against the disease that's killing them. Like, that's gross. That's disgusting. What's even more disgusting is the stuff they scuttle. The stuff that they don't print. They don't have any triple verify. Thank you, Philly Dana. Appreciate it. They don't have any triple verified journalistic integrity issues on if somebody's cheating on their wife or husband, or has a new boyfriend or new girlfriend, or some, teen star has been, had a DUI, so let's just chase them around and give them body issues and make them, think the whole world is staring at them while they try to get their life back together. They'll do that. They'll do that nonstop. They don't have any more information that that's true than these other cases, which they actually have more information about. There was plenty, there was that whole list that was floating for a while of producers to avoid because they will sexually assault you. Page 6 and TMZ dropped those balls on purpose. So, the hell with them. And I, again, will state this, that I want to fight physically for charity in a ring with some level of rules. I'm not just going to go and pick on them in the street. I'm not going to sucker punch anybody. I'll fight the entire cast of TMZ, and we can throw in the entire writing staff at page 6 if you want to. All of them in a ring at once. All of them. Me by myself. I will wear shorts, boxing boots or shoes, like wrestling shoes, and grip gloves, meaning like padded gloves, but with grip, the open fingers. That's all I'm going to have. And they're allowed to come in wearing any padding they want, bring in any stick weapons or blunt weapons they would like. All of them at once. For charity. I'm not kidding. Sell tickets. I won't take a dime. I want it all to go to a charity. They can, of their choice even, if they can find one. And when that happens, after I'm done with everybody who works there, then Harvey can come in and I'll fight him. After I'm a little winded. Just going to let that hang there. It's still true. And I have been offering this for a decade now, and they haven't taken me up on it. I don't know why. I'm just one guy. Hey, I wear I weigh $165, fully clothed, soaking wet. And again, they can wear helmets if they want to. Come in motorcycle gear. I care. You know? You'll be fine. But before Harvey or whoever the last person standing is submits, I will want them to admit into a microphone that they had the Harvey Weinstein stories and they didn't post them. And they had the Bill Cosby stories and they didn't post them. And they had the Jeffrey Epstein stories and they didn't post them. And they had the Donald Trump stories and they didn't post them. And then sweet darkness. They'll survive. Don't worry. I'm not a maniac. I'm just mildly crazy. But I mean it, and I stand by that challenge to this day, and I have yet to receive an answer. Whole cast, everybody. All of them. All at once. There you go. So, with that said, the marital woes at Fox News, I don't care about. For two reasons. One is, none of that stuff is my business. I don't care if people have relationship woes in real life or anywhere else, unless they're a friend and I can help them through it. And secondly, anybody who would marry someone like Sean Hannity, I'm not going to have an immediately like, wow, she must have really found something to heart. Thanks, Kale Hink. So, yeah. So I don't care about relationship stories in the news and if somebody's dating anybody else, like co-stars sleeping together, all that kind of stuff. I don't care. I don't care. And I'm not going to care. I'm never going to care. And so I don't care about Sean Hannity's relationship, other than the fact that there's another like check mark next to the family values farce storyline that's been going on for a long time. Also, and we should get into this quickly so we can, get about our Wednesday night. I got some work to do for the Sexy Liberal show. Oh, I'm going to be shooting some stuff tonight for anybody who's coming. I've got a little pre-tape thing that I've got to send you guys on how to use everything. So I'm in charge of doing the the explanation videos, so you know where to go and what to do if you're coming to the show and how to get into the rooms for the meet and grope and all that kind of stuff. So I'll be there helping you out. Let's all go to the lobby, that kind of stuff. So, so when I was on the Fox and Friends show, they were personable, normal people. There was a change post, 9/11, and there have been a couple of times. Brian's kind of been the worst, where he's kind of lean pro-Trump for a big chunk of time, but he seems to be the most easily shocked into reality every so often. So we will see. Yeah, good and plenty are so good. We will see. That's in the chat room. Just passing that on in case you're watching this later. Brian and Steve like have moments where they're like, "Yeah, but wouldn't that be wrong?" And it's kind of really surprising for to watch them go through those. You're like, "Oh, a human lives in that used rubber of a being that I'm looking at." So we'll see if there's some of that in this, or if he's just softballing, a message to Trump. I'm gonna let you guess how I think the Sean Spicer interview goes, but here we go.
States, Mr. President, thanks so much for joining us from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Well, actually, it's not 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That's just my voting address for voting in Florida. If you don't know that, I am a Florida citizen. I just have a Washington, D.C. address because you can't trust vote by mail.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on 10 years on radio. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't get a congratulations. I've been on the radio longer than that. What the heck? And I only have to do it one day a week, and I have an impact. This dude's on TV nonstop, and people take me way more seriously. But that's, of course, because I, bring joy to America's families.
It's pretty good. I remember when you were one day on radio. All right? It's been a long time, but that's a great job.
I remember when you were one day on radio. It's been a long time since then. You mean 9 years and 364 days?
You're doing a great job, Brian.
You were hosting, thanks so much, Mr. President. You were hosting The Apprentice back then. You were #1 of the ratings when we started.
No, I wasn't.
And now you got the #1 job in the country. I just
excuse me, #2.
Curious, the place you used to live, where the Mayor de Blasio, the National Guard is not going to work here. They're not trained to handle unrest. Do you agree with that?
No.
Yeah.
Not at all. It's if you look at what happened in Minnesota, they were getting decimated, and after 3 days of watching it, I demanded that the National Guard be utilized, and in one day it was over. In fact,
from that demand, your demand that they use it, that's why the governor used the National Guard, and that was what did it? Wasn't George Floyd's family coming out and asking for peace the day before? Wasn't the continual members of George Floyd's family coming forward and saying, don't destroy things, please gather peacefully, you're hurting black-owned businesses in this process, don't destroy our own places? Because it wasn't that, it was that you demanded the National Guard be used. Okay.
They got there at a certain time in the late afternoon, and by the time they finished, it was, I always say somewhat sarcastically, but the safest place on earth.
Somewhat sarcastically. You think he just doesn't know what sarcasm is? I know what you're thinking. Of course he does, Hal.
Minnesota was really having a hard time, and we took care of it.
Oh, did we?
And the governor's a nice man, and he was, not using enough, and he was, you saw the police were running in Minneapolis, and they were running away from their precinct, which is something I've never seen before.
Yeah, why didn't they? I don't understand why they didn't just turn around and open fire on people. I mean, property was being destroyed. Why wouldn't you just shoot people who were angry about the fact that just a few days earlier, people dressed just like you had knelt on someone's neck for almost 9 minutes until they passed away? Why wouldn't you just shoot people? I mean, dominate.
Or you have a liberal mayor that frankly was having
a hard time because he wouldn't just shoot people.
Trouble, and you have a very liberal mayor in New York too. And you notice that all of these places that have problems are not run by Republicans; they're run by liberal Democrats. So there is something into that philosophy, and yet they're all.
That's what the problem is. You think the white cops that kill unarmed black men are Democrats? Is that what you think?
So the ones keeping everybody locked up in their apartments and their homes for too long a period of time. So it's very interesting.
But yeah, see, you're saying on the one hand that these are areas that have a lot of black and brown people in them, and then not recognizing that the reason we're staying indoors in a lot of instances is because COVID-19 unequally affects the black and brown community for vitamin D, but for a lot of reasons. And we would rather them not die. So, yeah, whereas areas where there are fewer people or your followers don't seem to give a shit who dies because you got to, hey, man, can't make an omelet without breaking some relatives.
How that changes. But no, the National Guard, we could solve that problem in New York. And in fact, if they don't get their act straightened out, I will solve it. I'll solve it.
You'll solve it? Nothing's quite a solution like death.
Best.
Last night was one of the best nights in day 8, especially in New York. We didn't see the riots. We saw the.
Anybody remember, like, how long the LA riots went? I mean, considering these are nationwide, was it 4 or 5 days before they started petering out? These went 8, but that's because they cascaded across different parts of the country. They've been uneven. They started in Minneapolis and they spread, so there's kind of like a 1 day or 2 day delay. As far as like the normal arc, yeah, about 6 days. Yeah, so yeah, if you add 2 days to them starting to grow in other places and down by the 8, it wasn't a full month. We weren't rioting, and we had the aftermath of the riots was a long time, and there was a lot of stuff to do. But
protests, even though it wasn't perfect, do you think we've turned the corner according to the reports you get?
Well, you may, but you still had a lot of people, and they're violent people in many cases. You have protesters, but you also have anarchists and looters and a lot of people that are bad people, okay? A lot of bad people.
Oh, I see. There's just a lot of bad people. So why not just, there's a bunch of bad people in those crowds in amongst the protesters. So here's a good idea. Stop it cold, right? Just open fire. Run them like rubber bullets right in the face. Maybe you get lucky. Maybe you hit one of the bad people.
We have a lot of proof and information and proof. You'll be seeing it in time.
Oh, information and proof. Are they not the same thing? Do you have proof without information? Is there such a thing?
To come where they're delivering rocks and stones to certain locations and dumping them, so they have.
I saw reports where a rabbit showed up with a black ball with a fuse out of it going with a bow on it, and he delivered it to this poor white hunter who was standing right there, and he was so grateful to get it until it blew up in his face. It's just a travesty.
Their ammunition, and that hurts people very badly, including National Guard people or even military people. But Washington is in great shape.
As opposed to, what, other protesters who get hit as well? And like, a lot of people, MAGA guys with machetes are getting hit with bricks, and they, like, where did that come from?
If we called out...
It's 6 days. Thank you, Andrea. So that's about right, 8 days for something that started up with 2 days outside. It's not that different a turn in terms of time, and has started morphing into more organized protests.
The National Guard after the first night, which was a little bit rougher, but then after that we called up, and we have, I jokingly said, a little bit jokingly maybe, it's one of the safest places on earth.
Maybe, was it sarcastic or was it a little bit jokingly?
And we had no problem at all last night. We had substantial dominant force, and you have to have a dominant force. Maybe it doesn't sound good to say it, but you have to have a dominant force. We need.
Yeah, you gotta dominate. That's the important thing. You can't just have it running around, willy-nilly. There's anarchists out there. You have to.
Once it was reluctantly aroused. It was hard to get it aroused, and it is hard to get it aroused, but we got it aroused.
Well, you just gotta dominate.
On order.
Sunday it wasn't the case. We had only Leland Vittert reporting no problem. It got dark, a huge problem. He was attacked. And then the reports were they were so worried they brought you downstairs in the White House to a bunker. What could you tell me Sunday night was like for you and your family?
for you and your family. So this is the story Brian Kilmeade got. He works at Fox News. They have people inside the White House. They are in constant contact with Trump. Kayleigh McEnany and all those folks used to work at Fox. So whatever news Brian Kilmeade is getting is true. So he's asking him, you went down into the bunker. What was it with your family? What was it like? And let's see what Trump's answer is.
Well, it was a false report.
Right, that's it. Yeah.
I went down during the day, and I was there for a tiny, little short period of time, and it was much more for an inspection. There was no problem during the day. The problem, I saw Leland got whacked pretty good, but that was during the night. And these problems are during the night, not during the day.
So why'd you go down during the night? It's for an inspection. I wanted to make sure that it was, there was enough cans of fish delight.
And I've gone down 2 or 3 times, all for inspection.
He has inspected the bunker 2 or 3 times. So he just wake up, inspection. Okay, baby. He went down to the bunker 2 or 3 times, I guess, in addition to the one during the day. So if you're going to go down that many times to a bunker underneath the White House, why not stay? I mean, they've got a kitchen, they've got sports center, they've got, a mini fridge with beverages.
And you go there, someday you may need it, but
just in case. I want to, guys, I heard is there a bunker or some a panic room here? Oh, there is. Oh. Could I take a look at that right now? I don't need to, just kind of check it out, see if, what, I'm just kind of curious about the amenities.
Go there, and I went down, I looked at it. It was during the day. It was not a problem. And I read about it like a big thing. There was never a problem. We never had a problem. Nobody.
There was no problem. I just went down there, it's like the first part of my physical, there was no problem. I just went to Walter Reed to get, part of it done. And I was like, I'll get the rest of it done in January. And that's why we released it today.
He ever came close to giving us a problem.
7 months? That's how long it took to complete Trump's physical?
Secret Service does an unbelievable job of maintaining control in the White House. And
no, they do a completely believable job. Who would not believe that all the things available to the Secret Service in terms of protecting the president and the vice president and the staff and all the folks that watch over, the Secret Service that are watching over Joe Biden, the ones that work with watch over the Supreme Court justices, I would find it completely believable that they know what they're doing. Right?
On the Secret Service, we have a lot of other great people out there, including the D.C. police. And then, of course, on top of that, after I saw the one evening, which was a little rough, and it was certainly rough on
a little rough.
Leland, I think more so than anybody else.
Yeah, Leland from Fox News got it worse than anybody else. Poor Leland. I'm not even sure what happened to Leland because I don't care, per se, any more than, yeah. But are there not, did he see what happened to the other, did he see what the cop did with the shield to the Australian photojournalist who was filming it? Like the Australians are filing a civil rights claim against the United States for assault.
We brought in the troops.
Yeah. Dumb idea.
Mr. President, I remember on 9/11, the President Bush wanted to land back at Washington. They wouldn't let him. They said it's too dangerous. Finally got him back there. Sometimes the Secret Service even tells the president, I can't do this. So
Yeah, so this is This is Brian getting back into the story that he heard that's real, and he's trying to see if Donald Trump will confirm some of this.
You tell me, Mr. President, they didn't say to you, you have to go downstairs. My responsibility is your welfare. They didn't limit you at all in the House?
Nope, they didn't tell me that at all, but they said it would be a good time to go down, take a look.
So that's what the Secret Service now knows, that they are talking to a toddler. Mr. President, you know, right now, and yeah, no, finish your Diet Coke. Right now might be a good time for you to see the bunker. Did you know we have a special bunker? Maybe you want to check it out in case you want to spend some time there in the future. Can you, maybe, you know, you want to see it now? I mean, it might be a good time as any to go to the bunker and, you know, maybe inspect it. We'll just tell people you're just down there having a look around, and then we'll inject you with something and you'll wake up tomorrow and it's fine. It's we have a little thing, we've just had this kind of system in place since the movie Dave came out.
Because maybe sometime you're going to need it.
Maybe sometime you're going to need it.
And I've been down, let's see, that would be number 2, 2.5 sort of, because
hashtag number 2.
I've done different things. But
yeah, that's right. Mr. President, I don't know, but they're serving fish delight in the bunker. Oh, fish delight. That's almost like the McDonald's fish sandwich, only they have it there.
2.5.
A trail of McNuggets.
But I was down for a very, very short period of time.
I woke up, my pants were on backwards, and suddenly there were people organizing peace marches, and I hadn't tweeted in 16 hours.
Very, very.
It's weird how after 16 hours, things totally change. That's how you dominate. Stop tweeting.
Short period of time. I can't tell you who went with me, but a whole group of people went with me.
So your wife and child weren't part of that group? But they, all right.
As inspecting.
A bunch of people like, hey, Mr. President, you don't mind if I head down there with you? I've always wanted to see the bunker. Any chance I could come on? Oh, yeah, sure. Mr. President, they can't. There's not enough people in the pod.
Factor. I was back up. And, Brian, it was during the day. It wasn't during the night. I think they reported
when I went down, it was day. When I came out, it was next day. So it was just day when I went down there.
The night.
When I'm gacked up on Adderall, I can't tell time.
During the night, maybe someday it makes sense. During the day, you have tremendous numbers of people. We didn't even have protesters, or if they did, it was a small crowd.
A small crowd. That's what it is. What kind of small crowd are we talking about? Are we talking about like your inaugural kind of small crowd, or clearly not a big crowd like Obama's inauguration? Right?
There's so much fake news going around, Brian, you have no idea. Maybe.
Why he works in the news.
You do actually have an idea.
Ouch.
Mr. President, you gave a speech in the Rose Garden, got a thumbs up.
Speech. Got a what?
For a lot of people, especially your supporters. And then you said, I'm going to go into a...
Got a thumbs up from a lot of people, especially your supporters. Like those people do anything but stick their thumbs up his ass.
Important place. They quickly cleared out Lafayette Park, and you walked through with many of your staffer, from Kayleigh McEnany to the Secretary of Defense, who said he didn't know where he was going at the time. And you appeared at St. John.
Isn't it Kayleigh McEnany?
Church was boarded up, and you held up a Bible.
Well, citation needed. You know what I mean? Like, the dust cover does not the book make.
Reverend James Martin, a Jesuit priest and author of a book on that church, says the church is not a photo op, the religion is not a political tool, and God is not a plaything. He's among some religious leaders who are very critical of that visit. What's your response?
Well, my response is simple. Most religious leaders loved it. I heard Frank.
Oh, did they? Did you talk to most religious leaders? Why don't I just say that most religious leaders think this is their favorite show? Most religious leaders. I mean, most of them, I'm just going to assume until they tell me different. Like rabbis, imams, preachers, priests, witches, warlocks, pagan sorcerers. This is their favorite show. All of them, pretty much. I mean, I've heard good things from people associated with those groups. So why am I not to assume that this is not their favorite show of all time? That watching me daily isn't the best thing they could do next to doing church services? I mean, if he can say that most liked what he did, let's see if most of the people. What does he mean by most? Who contacted him?
Graham this morning thought it was great. I heard.
Oh, Franklin Graham. Is that what he said?
The other people think it was great.
Oh yeah, they think it was great. Franklin Graham and many other people. I guess people he takes phone calls from. So the people who think he only takes phone calls from people who think he's great.
And it's only the
and governors, but that's because he has to.
The side that didn't like it, you know, the opposing.
The other side. You mean real Christians? Episcopal bishops? You know, the other side.
The opposition party, as the expression goes.
So, Christians, Jews, imams, rabbis who think that was gross are now the opposition part. Okay.
They burned down the church the day before. I heard how nice and wonderful the protesters were over there. Really? Then why did they burn down the church the day before?
The protesters didn't burn down the church.
They burned down a big section of it. Fortunately, they were able to catch it in time. This is a church built at a similar time as the White House. And Madison was your president. He was.
Oh, was he my president? Was Madison? Guys, when raise your hand in the chat. Were you alive when Madison? You know, he was your president then. You know, your president.
Number 6, I believe. And Madison was your president, and he was the first.
Somebody just told
president to enter and go to that church. Now, when I said go to the church, I didn't know protesters or not. Nobody tells me that. They say, yes, sir.
I don't listen to anything. I just say, I want to walk over there. Do what you have to do to clear a path. I have no idea who's out there.
We'll go to the church.
Nobody's ever, like, you know how rare it is for the president to walk out the front and down the street? Do you know what they have to do to arrange for that? And you honestly think he doesn't know they're going to have to clear people?
So we walked over to the church. It was very fast. I think it was very symbolic.
Yeah, it was symbolic. Not of anything good. It was symbolic of you being a hypocrite and an asshole.
It hold up a Bible. I think that's a good thing, not a bad
thing. Beats reading it.
And many religious leaders loved it.
Did they?
As to, if you read Molly Hemingway, who I know you're a fan of, and I'm a big fan of, she wrote a piece that was all fake news. There's so much fake news.
Tell us more about Molly Hemingway's piece.
News is fake.
Most of the news is fake. Okay.
Corrupt and they're fake.
But Molly Hemingway, I mean, that is good stuff. I don't even know. Let's see. Molly Hemingway, Church, Trump, Bible. Let's just search that. One day ago, media. I guess this is the one. The media falsely claimed violent riots were peaceful and the tear gas was used against rioters. Oh, you mean the smoke bombs that they were throwing at people? And shoving people and... Let's see. Standing before the church sign which reads, "All are welcome," President Trump, who previously said he'd be paying his respects to a very special place, held up a Bible. Again, citation needed. Just because it has the cover on it, unless he can quote it, I'm going to assume it was satanic scriptures written at the Bohemian Grove in Alex Jones's blood. The speech announcing the country would, I mean, you don't think Alex Jones is the real Alex Jones, do you? No, he was replaced by a lizard person a long time ago wearing his skin. No human bloats like that. For the media, however, these actions were further proof that Orange Man bad is literally the worst. Yeah, that's their fallback. This is her thing. Facts were no barrier to their narrative. They spun a tale of violent, jackbooted cops running rampant through the streets over innocent, docile protesters, using tear gas to clear the air. Turns out none of that was true. Did she not watch the video? Every single major video outlet reported that the park police were unprovoked when they used tear gas to clear the area. If any of that, no, the point was there were people who were sitting there and then they punched their way through because he decided he wanted a photo op. I don't think that the protesters, they were stationary, and this stuff didn't happen until the White House, until Trump decided he wanted these people cleared. Monday, June 1st, the USPP worked with the United States Secret Service to have temporary fencing installed inside Lafayette Park. At approximately 6:33 p.m., violent protesters on 8th Street Northwest began throwing projectiles, including bricks, frozen water bottles, and caustic liquids, otherwise known as urine. The protesters also climbed onto a historic building at the north end of Lafayette Park that was destroyed by arson days prior. Intelligence had revealed calls for violence against the police, and officers found caches of glass bottles, baseball bats, and metal poles hidden along the street to curtail the violence. Yeah, this isn't about the protesters, though. MAGA people have been screaming that this is what the plan is. And by the way, you think I'm going to be impressed by boxes of unthrown bricks and unthrown rocks and unused bats laying randomly along a pathway? I think that points to the fact that the protesters aren't using said items. Otherwise, there would be like, they'd walk over like Sherlock and go, there were bricks in this box. Like, piss off. Okay.
The lamestream media. And
really, Sarah Palin?
If you read the story, and if you read what Molly Hemingway said, who's a
yeah, I just read it, and I'm not impressed.
Reporter, a great journalist.
Well,
you'll see that that story was fake. They didn't use tear gas. They moved them out. Now, when I went,
yeah, in her own article, as many of the protesters became more combative, you mean they didn't want to be shoved or knocked down, or they didn't like that they were seeing journalists getting hit with shields for filming, that those folks were like, hey, what's up? And then suddenly that means more combative. Okay, continued to throw projectiles and attempted to grab officers' weapons. What, their sidearms? Or are you considering their shields weapons now? Officers then employed the use of smoke canisters and pepper balls. Right. So we're not using tear gas, but we are shooting pepper spray paintballs at people, which do the same thing as tear gas and also hurt.
I didn't say, oh, move them out. I didn't know who was there. I figured I was going to.
I don't care. I mean, it's just, I want to go someplace. They move the people who are there. It's like when I used to get a table in New York, you know, and I was like, that's my favorite table. Kick those poor people out of the...
Over the church, very nearby. So if you read the Molly Hemingway piece, you'll get the
oh my God.
real story. But most religious leaders loved it. Why wouldn't they love it? I'm standing in front of a church that went through trauma.
Because you're a fake Christian and you were holding up a Bible as a prop and you never go to the church and you don't believe that you require any sort of repentance. You don't think you'd have a reason to ask God for forgiveness. So your existence is antithetical to the message of Christianity? That reason?
To put it mildly, I mean, the whole basement, a big part of the basement was burning. It's very lucky that church didn't burn down.
And by the way, some people are saying he's the Antichrist in the chat room. No, the Antichrist, when he or she comes, will be charming, have the entire world behind them, and not shit their diaper while doing rails of Adderall before they sputter incoherently and reshape words as they speak. I'm just saying, like, unless there's sort of like a budget version, he's like the budget Antichrist. He's like, this is the Antichrist you get if you use a coupon.
And that's a very important church. So I have...
Important how? Explain why churches are important. Tell us what makes it important in your life. Quote a Bible verse. I mean, John 3:16. Come on, whip it out. For God so loved the world, who gave his only begotten Son, for whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. I mean, you can't whip that one out. They drill that into you. If you go, I mean, you don't even have to go to church that often and memorize that one.
Agree with you.
I haven't heard what
you
told me.
Mr. President, was the original intent to go inside and find and see the damage? And did you notice it was boarded up when you got there?
No, they told me it was boarded up, and I said,
no, I can't actually cross the threshold, or it becomes desecrated, or my clothes burst into flames, and everyone can see that I'm a lizard.
It's all right. We'll stand by the church. We won't go inside. It had, received a very bad burning. I would have been
it got a very bad burning. I don't like the snappy peppy. No, sir. It's too burning.
Able to go inside if I wanted to, but it was boarded up. The whole building was just about boarded up, but I would have been able to go in.
If I wanted to, I would have gone, hey, pry open those boards and let me see the inside. If I want to walk around in a church, whether it's open or closed, I'm the President of the United States. I can trespass. What? You don't own the friggin' place. You have to ask permission. You know that whole thing about not having to quarter soldiers in your house that's in the Constitution? Yeah, that applies to also, you don't have to let the president walk on your property, use your toilet, and take a nap in your bed. What kind of crap?
But there's no reason for it. It was smoke, a lot of smoke, and a lot of damage, actually, a lot of damage.
Really? Oh, yeah?
But it was confined to one area. The fire itself was confined to one area. But, Brian, the church leaders loved that I went there.
No, they didn't.
The Bible. I mean, take...
No, the church leaders loved that I went there with the Bible. Not the church leaders from that church, he means.
Look at Franklin Graham, so respected and so...
No, not respected. Hi, Franklin Graham. I think you're a fraud. I think you're an embarrassment to Christianity. I think you weaponize the language of Christ. I think you're grotesque. I think your followers believe on some level that they may be following the words of Christ, but I think you are dovetailing on the history of your family and using it. But I don't think you're legit at all. Not very respected. I don't have to respect him. That's what a secular society is all about. There's a bunch of other Christian leaders I respect. Yeah. One of them is the bishop who runs the place.
Many others. Take a look at Robert Jeffress. These are all people.
Take a Bishop Buddy.
Well, they thought it was a great symbol, and I thought it was a great symbol.
They thought it was a great symbol. I thought it was a great symbol. I mean, the content I don't give a shit about, but I am the messiah of poser Christianity.
But the fake news makes everything look bad, no matter what you do. Like we did a great job on ventilators. We're giving them now. The countries all over the world were making them. When I started.
Yeah, you're giving them to places like Nigeria when we found out that getting someone on a ventilator actually there are contraindications to it when it comes to COVID-19. People were following the treatments that were coming out of China and South Korea and Italy, and they realized over time the best thing you can do is keep someone off a ventilator as much as you can using other means. If you have to, you have to. But if they're at that point, the signs are bad with this disease.
We had practically none. The cupboards were...
Oh, my God, we're going into the cupboards were bare again. Oh, God. 6 million tons of gear in the stockpile.
There. The Obama administration left us practically nothing.
Now, they gave you a bunch of stuff, and you let it rot. There are a lot of things, drugs, PPE, that have to be replenished. You can't leave them stacked forever. Like old rubber and plastic, it breaks down over time, and you have to replenish it constantly. And if you don't run the presidency with any care or respect, a lot of that shit happens. Oh, we got plenty of bullets.
You don't hear those stories. They don't write about that. We tested number 16 million yesterday, much more than anybody else. You don't hear that we've done well in testing. They always say, well, why not more?
You haven't.
And yet Germany is at 3 million. We're...
They have 50 million people.
16 million. And we have incredible...
Yeah, we have 340 million people.
Testing now. So, we've done a great job, but we don't get credit for it. But hopefully the people understand.
People understand that you hid in the bunker overnight and pooped yourself silly, fearing for your, and had them shut the lights out on the White House.
So you have a pandemic and a national unrest, two unprecedented things, I would argue, in my lifetime and probably yours.
Was that a shot over the bow? Like, I think you're a lot older than me, right?
But the big picture, I thought we'd be...
Yeah, I didn't start giving a shit, really, until about 8 years ago, and most of it's still about self-interest. So, I don't know, is it?
Talking about the day after George Floyd's tragic death, which I think you agree, it seems that law enforcement, you don't want to convict someone before they have trial, but 96% of the country thinks that was out of bounds. The knee on the neck killed him. I'm one of them. We can't see where the trial comes out.
There you go. So Brian Kilmeade is coming down soundly on the idea that George Floyd was murdered. He believes it. You can tell from what he's saying. He's using sort of the alleged realm of language because he's aware of the ramifications of when you say stuff on the air. And good for him for not being in the 4% of people who think George Floyd deserved it or it was okay. I mean, 96%, that's like stimulus getting through the Senate zone.
But this is the one stat
yes, Paul, I see yes, sorry. I saw Paul's super hearts, and if I missed any other ones, I apologize. I'm caught up in this whole thing.
I'll bring you to, and I'm going to ask you if you can attack this. According to a Axios Ipsos poll, 70% of white Americans say they trust the local police. Only 36% of African Americans do. How do you attack that problem? How do you change things?
Okay, so here's a policy kind of thing. Here's a thank you, Paul. Okay, so he's asking him a question basically after having seen Biden's statements and his speech and his town hall stuff. Like, he's been saying, nobody's perfect, but we're going to work on this. It won't take 100 days. It'll take a generation. It may, things may not even happen in my term, but we have to start making the down payment on this. We have to start doing the work of cleaning these things up. We got to make steady, regular progress so people know all that stuff. And he's asking, Brian Kilmeade is T-balling up a question for Donald Trump to answer it.
Well, I think it's a very sad problem. As you know, as a Republican, I'm doing very well with African Americans and...
No, you're not. You're not doing very well. Unless, no, I take it back. Yeah, I take it back. From Trump's perspective, he might believe he's doing very well in that if you get too much support from the black community, to his crowd, that's a terrible thing. Right? Listen, like, again, we're all about politispeak here. You can break it down, and all these kind of like, this mid-zone of, in general. Listen to his languaging here. We're doing very well with black people. Now, the polls do not bear that out at all, especially in voting black people, which kind of matters. But not at all, not in general, not in any wide stretch. I mean, unless he thinks, there's Kanye. It's like he thinks, his map is like New York, New Jersey, and a lot of other places. That's his map of the United States. And he's like Germany and England and the UK and a lot of other places is his map of Europe. So maybe it's like Ben Carson and Kanye and a lot of, that must mean the other black people like me. But also it might be that doing very well with blacks means they hate me, which means from my perspective, I'm doing the right thing, right?
With the vote, in polls and everything.
With the vote, with the polls. Nah.
Thing especially, I mean, I haven't seen one very recently because you had...
You mean a black person or?
Plague come in from China, so that changed things up. But we had the best economy ever. We had the best numbers for African-American unemployment and unemployment.
On the exact same arc that it was since 2010.
in history, best home ownership, best everything. We had the best numbers in everything. Not only
We had to throw a monkey wrench in that.
African American, but the African and American numbers were
But how do you handle
great.
the law enforcement part of this?
Well,
How do
I think
handle
you
the law
have to
enforcement
get better than what they've been doing. I mean, obviously that.
Oh, that's it. Okay, that's how do you handle it? You got to get better than what they've been doing. Again, you can read that two ways. You could read that police departments need to do more outreach in the black community, and they need to make people feel that they trust them, and they need to have community outreach, and they got to work with areas to single out violent criminals in areas and interact with schools and other things to keep people out of the school, the preschool to prison pipeline, all that stuff. Or you could also read that statement as they got to start killing people away from cameras.
Was a terrible thing, and I've spoken about it numerous times in various speeches, and
Yeah, in this half speak, and you dovetailed. You literally went. I mean, you turned a huge corner, like right at. George Floyd bad. What happened to him was bad. But mob violence, we got to have the military put these assholes down.
It's interesting. I spoke about it when we launched a very successful rocket, a tremendous program that culminated on that day, and now obviously it goes on from there. But I then made a speech, and it was a speech about the rocket, and I devoted 25% of the speech probably to what happened, or more, to what happened with respect to George Floyd. And it was, and then you listen to this. He doesn't talk about George Floyd. The rocket went off. I then made a speech and I talked about George Floyd, but they said he didn't talk about George Floyd.
But people didn't say you didn't talk about George Floyd. It's that you brought it up in a perfunctory manner, and then you started talking about how you need to bring the military in to stop rioters and looters and protesters because they're violent people. Like
half, maybe even almost half of the speech, but a large portion of the speech was devoted exactly to that. And so, with the media, basically, no matter what you do, it's never going to be good enough. But the people understand it, and that's one of the
the people understand that you're an asshole.
Beauties to social media. I mean, I would love not to even bother.
Oh, really? Then, if that's the beauty of social media, then why the executive order?
The social media, but I'm able to get.
Yeah, Scooter, I don't know what the hell.
My word.
And by the way, how many times did he say rocket in that? Rocket, yeah. Still in love.
Out beautifully by
rocket, baby. Come on.
Social media. Fortunately, you use social media too.
Yeah, I use social media. Don't tell anybody. Couple of,
Right.
But we have to get the word out. Look, we have to, Brian, we have to get the police departments, everybody has to do better. Has to do better. This is a long-term problem. This didn't happen today. This happened. I mean, a guy like Sleepy Joe Biden was in there for 43 years. Then he says, I think we should do this. I saw it today. He took his mask off for the first time in a while. I haven't seen his face for a long time. And he said,
oh, yeah, because that's right. Because okay, first of all, he was vice president. He was in the Senate. He was in the House. He was a public defender. He's been working on this for a long time. It's different when you're president, though. You have a lot of options when you're president that you don't have when you're in the Senate or in the House. And you certainly have more power when you're president than, say, when you were vice president to the first black president and your party said from day one that all you're going to do is try to scuttle anything he does, even if it's stuff you agree with.
I think we should do...
Hey, puff up the... Hello, Norway. Good to see you, puff up the pillow.
This, or I think we should do that.
We're getting mega worldwider every day. It's a good thing. Welcome aboard, everybody. Scooter, thank you. Yeah, ramble, lie, ramble. This is a Gish Gallop. He's just riding Brian Kilmeade's back during the Gish Gallop.
And actually, then he...
Giddy up. Hi-ho, Kilmeade.
Started speaking through the mask again. He feels comfortable with the mask on, I think.
No, he takes it off to give speeches because he's far away from other people and they're filming it. and then he puts it back on when he's interacting with people. Like he went out into the street and shook hands with people, just like Nancy Pelosi did today, went out in the street. But because there's an ongoing pandemic, they wear a mask to protect themselves, but they're not afraid to shake hands and interact, and they don't need the Secret Service clearing a path using a wall of shields and smoke grenades and pepper balls.
And even though there was...
Who's ever had... I mean, I haven't seen my balls in... Jesus. 84. When was it? What year? How many years has it been?
Nobody anywhere near him, which is interesting. But...
Well... What? Biden gave a speech that rolled you.
Made a statement about what he should do. I said, he's been there for 43 years.
Yeah, but he isn't president. So he's talking about what he would do as president when he has all the powers of the presidency behind him.
He was vice president for 8 years. He didn't do a thing.
He didn't do a thing. He didn't do a thing. He didn't do a... All right, we'll just go back through. I'll tweet a bunch of stuff after the show about the stuff that both the Obama administration with and through Joe Biden did, including the ACA, which expanded coverage to African Americans and other people who are low income, especially in the white community as well, so that they don't die.
My bill was a disaster.
I'll tell you what exactly. Right, I will tell you what he said. He said he won't traffic in fear and division. He won't fan the flames. He'll seek to heal the racial wounds that have long plagued our country, not use them for political gain. And I assume that he says you are doing all those things.
You can, yeah, you ass out of you and me, right?
Well, you see, that speech was written. He didn't say that.
No, he said that.
He repeated.
By the way, look at FactBase, their website. You can see which ones of Trump's tweets are him versus which ones the staff do, and they try to misspell words and use all caps like he does to imitate his weird online affectations.
The words, that's all. That speech was written for him because he doesn't speak like that. But
he doesn't speak like that. What do you think he does? Type his stutter into stuff?
He did a crime bill that was a disaster.
Was it? Was it? What did you disagree with about the crime bill? Is it just because you found out the Black Caucus supported it?
What he did with Clarence Thomas was a disaster. It was.
Notice it was Clarence Thomas. Like, it wasn't that it was a disaster the way he treated Anita Hill. Yeah, that benefited Clarence Thomas.
A disaster the way he treated Clarence Thomas.
Oh, really? That was the problem. Why has he not apologized for the way he treated Anita Hill to Clarence Thomas, the way he apologized to Anita Hill for the way he treated Anita Hill? What? Joe Biden's part of the reason why Clarence Thomas was on the...
And a great...
He has no idea.
Justice, as it turns out.
No, not a great justice. Utterly forgettable. And part of, by the way, just, rubber stamping Scalia has been his career.
Back to those horrible days, the way he treated Clarence Thomas.
Really, the way he treated Clarence Thomas. Think about that. Who comes away from the Anita Hill hearings and goes, Joe Biden was so mean to Clarence Thomas? What? Joe Biden apologized. Maybe that's what he means. Maybe he means that by apologizing to Anita Hill and trying to reach out to her and make meaningful change in his attempt, by the way, to protect a black Supreme Court justice who was getting on the, even though that person was conservative, like apologizing to Anita, maybe apologizing to Anita Hill was how he was mean to Clarence Thomas? What? Yeah, he apologized to Anita Hill, but maybe no, he's done it several times. He's done it again and like 3 or 4 times. But the point is, Trump is what?
They write books about it. There was nobody worse than Biden.
Somebody, they write books about how Biden was mean to Clarence Thomas. There's a book called Nobody Was Worse Than Biden.
Now, he's not the same Biden. He's about half, maybe less. But the fact is...
And you're twice the Trump you were that length ago, but still magically an inch taller and a couple pounds thinner than reality.
That he doesn't say that. They write he's surrounded by the Democrats have bad policy. In many ways, they're bad politicians because their policy open borders, take away everybody's guns. You know, they want to take your guns away.
Is that the Democratic way? We want to take everybody's guns away because we don't want machine guns with 30-round magazines on our streets? Why can't we make America Yemen again?
Except now more people bought guns in the last 3-4 days than they have in a long time. Because when they look...
Because they're afraid, because you let the country fall into chaos and stoked anger and division, and a bunch of your redneck buddies are planning the great day of the rope?
Out on the streets.
Right. I know. I saw it in my own neighborhood. They were wrapped around the building buying guns all last night.
I would watch if they have a little too much of the Kickapoo joy juice than their dillweed.
Protesters who are actually in the suburbs
they want security and they want safety.
And they want their child to find an unlocked gun and blow their brains out. Or what if they want to commit suicide after all this is over because they didn't get the bailout that, you know, Mnuchin's $1 trillion buddies got?
Right. And the Democrats want to take your guns away.
Do we? I'm a Democrat. I'm a lifelong Democrat. I've been voting Democrat since I was 18 years old. First election, voted Democrat, everything. I don't want to take your guns away. I just don't want anti-personnel weapons built specifically for the murdering of mass human beings in war zones, of which I would include the AR-15 and other guns like it. I don't want those on the streets. And if you walk around with one, I would like the police to be able to walk over to you and go, "Hey, fucko, where you going? Any reason why you're walking towards that high school with a rifle right now?" "Hey, my Second Amendment, man. I'm just Second Amendmenting it around here. You're violating my rights for even bothering me about this stuff. I could shoot you and stand your ground, back me up." Yeah, don't go out on the streets with that kind of gun if you want to call yourself an American. Have it at home. Defend your homestead from Russian shock troops and you know the great Chinese invasion or whatever, and you can defend your stack of hustlers and cans of beans in case one of your drunk neighbors gets all methed up and decides he needs something to sell. Get it. If you need more than if you need more than 10 rounds and you live in close proximity to other human beings, you're a shit shot. And you need to find other ways to defend your home.
In 3 separate polls.
And if you have to walk around with a gun like that, your town sucks.
He's beating you by about 10 points.
Okay,
How do you
I have other polls where I'm winning, and you've seen them too, I guess. But I have polls, just like last time, I was losing to Hillary in every state.
Tell us about the polls you have.
I won every state, okay?
Yeah, she was in with like 1.5%, 2% around this time. Biden's ahead of you by 8 to 11 points.
I won Michigan. I won Wisconsin.
You're not going to win them this time.
Places that they didn't even think were pollable. They didn't even want to go.
They didn't think they were pollable. You think Biden's going to make the mistake of not reaching out to those states? He's been talking to every major mayor in this country, whether they're in the party or not. They've been talking to every governor. They're the reason. The Biden campaign and Biden himself are the reason why governors called the White House and said, "Hey, declare a state of a national emergency in our state because we need the resources." And he went, "Oh, do we do that? We do that? Okay, we'll do that." They didn't. Yeah.
Father, we have tremendous support.
No, you don't.
I've seen many polls. CNN didn't CNN.
The ones in crayon that Pascal holds up in front of you on payday.
Have a poll, which they didn't want to use, where I was winning every single swing state. I think you've seen that. I had
all conservative poll.
Another poll yesterday,
which you're also even the all conservative polls. Biden's within the margin of error in all of those. Any sane human being who knows what those polls mean would fill their pants with soup if they were in Trump's position, which he would do anyways even.
Yeah, 2 weeks back.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago I was doing awesome. Remember when things were awesome?
At another poll.
Before I handled this so poorly, I was... it was a squeaker in the conservative poll.
And didn't want to use it, so they used another poll where mostly Democrats were polled. Take a look at who they're polling. If they
Who are they polling?
Poll anybody, because I don't even think they go out and poll. I think they sit at a desk and say, give this number, give that number. That's what happens.
That's what happens, yeah. So, because they want to be able to just, like, I don't know how that went so wrong on election day. Like, just write something. Understand the level of projection here. This is the same shit that happened when he looked at Obama and he's like, Obama could just write any executive order he wants and just put anything he wants, and they just shovel it right through, never realizing that Obama and everybody went through with a team of lawyers and tried to make it actually legally functional. And then Trump writes a bunch of things and he can't understand why his own Supreme Court is knocking shit down.
But last time, the polling was ridiculous, other than 2 or 3 polls, which I do use and which I'm doing very, very well with. But I saw another poll where I'm winning every swing state substantially. And
substantially.
Why wouldn't I?
Why wouldn't you? I can think of a bunch of reasons. I would say a permanent tax cut for corporations and a temporary tax cut for Americans, and mostly that went to people in the upper 10%. And the handling of the pandemic, the dismantling of the pandemic response team, we've got 15 cases and it'll eventually go to nothing. Like, who thinks it's smart to put somebody who thinks like that in charge of, let's just say you think this isn't that bad, that the pandemic was a big blow off and, you know, really was overhyped and all that kind of stuff. Do you want it's 15 people and it'll probably go down to 1. You want him in charge of the next tornado, hurricane, whatever that comes to your state? You want him in charge of the next cyber or military attack? You want him in charge of he owes China $300 million. You want him in charge of the negotiation and the cybersecurity back and forth between us and the Chinese government? Really? You trust him with your safety?
I built the greatest economy we've ever had. I built the greatest economy in the world.
Floated in on an already flying economy, carried on the back of Obama, primed the pump ever since, and raised the deficit double from what it was under Obama. Obama had the same growth from 2010 to the end of his presidency, consistent arc all the way up, half the deficit.
Really short period of time, 3.5 years. Then the plague came in from China. They shouldn't have.
It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault.
Let it happen. Not right. They came in from China. In fact, I see
the bullets left the guns of the North Korea. The missiles came in from North Korea. They should have never let them come in. But, you know, so you can't blame me that they hit the United States.
Today
I was just trying to make a deal.
Big article that they weren't very transparent or forthcoming, to put it mildly. The stall, they call it.
They called it the stall.
I built this great economy, and I'm building it again, Brian. By the time of election, I believe the economy will be doing phenomenal numbers. Big job increases, big GDP increases, and that'll be before the election.
Right. I also... Because of the stimulus that the Democrats made you double, because of the money to fight the pandemic, that I guess it was 4 times the amount the White House requested. So you're going to claim that you're the reason things are back to normal? If they are, which
by the end of the year, we'll have a vaccine. We're doing very well. I just had a meeting yesterday. I think we're going to have therapeutics, and I think we're going to have cures. So we're going to be in very good shape. But, you know, and right now, by the way, the numbers came out today, and they were much better than anybody would have thought. And the stock market is booming. The stock market is at
Stock market is not American money.
6,000, almost 26.
Anybody in the world can put money into the American stock market.
6,000 right now, the Dow. And who would think that? Because people know. Right. And we're going to have a great year next year. It's going to be a phenomenal year. We're going to have a very good...
Yeah, without you.
Third quarter, we're going to have a phenomenal fourth quarter. And if I'm heading in that direction, I think we're going to be very hard to beat, frankly, because Sleepy Joe would turn off immediately.
I know you got about 100 meetings today, and I appreciate this.
No, he doesn't. He does not have about 100 meetings today. He had lunch with Pompeo today.
So does our audience. But
that's his schedule.
Mr. President, a couple of things. The word is you want to invite Vladimir Putin to the G7 meeting. Let's say it's in September. What has he done to earn back the trust of the free world? He hasn't left the Ukraine. He hasn't left Georgia. Creates havoc in Venezuela. Do you see where he deserves this respect?
Yeah, well, look, helped us with the oil industry, which was good for him too. But
why did he helped us with the oil industry? No, he didn't. He got into a pissing contest with Saudi Arabia, and to set it right, because of them fighting, we had to turn off the spigot over here and talk Mexico into stopping production, lowering it by 100,000 barrels. How did he help us?
Got it up, and now we're going to save millions of jobs in Texas and North Dakota and other places.
Because they started this pissing contest. This wasn't an organic market situation.
This is Oklahoma with millions of jobs. I mean, the oil now is sustainable. I mean, it was down to zero, which would have ruined, we would have lost 5 million jobs.
5 million jobs would have been lost.
But no, it's not a question of what's he done. It's a question of common sense. So we have a G.
Yeah, it's common sense. What has he done to earn respect from the rest of the world? He's got a smaller economy than Italy.
Evan, he's not there. Half of the meeting is devoted to Russia. And if he was there, it'd be much easier to...
Dealing with them. That's like saying half of, our police meetings in the morning are dealing with this serial killer that's on the loose. We should let him be a cop. I mean, we're talking about him anyways. It's like he's sitting right here.
Solved. It used to be the G8.
Yeah. And then he started invading countries that are allies. Why would you want to be in an economic relate? Oh, because you owe him money.
Obama got taken over to cleaners. I mean, Obama had his pockets picked. And as you know...
He had his pockets picked? Well, there's one thing to have your pocket picked and then go, hey, the pickpocket's right over there. Probably shouldn't let him in here anymore. Versus, I'm picking America's pocket and he's helping me. I'm bringing the pickpocket back in. He's a buddy of mine.
Putin did something.
We're both planning it.
That he shouldn't have done because he didn't respect Obama, perhaps. And
yeah, it's not about respect. He friggin' hates Obama. And Obama is not fond of him. And rightly so. The guy's a scumbag. He's a gangster. His salary is $147,000 US a year, and he has a $200 billion net worth. Have you ever bought a product made by Putin's company, or does Putin own the Russian version of Amazon? No, he doesn't.
Obama got upset, and the United States said, we don't want to be here if Putin's going to be there. The problem is many of the things that we talk about are about Putin.
Yeah, that's many of the things the behavioral unit at the FBI talks about is about psychopaths. So why don't we just let some psychopaths in and let them, that's diversity.
So we're just sitting around wasting time.
Why are you wasting time? Talking about how to deal with this asshole.
Because then you have to finish your meeting and somebody has to call Putin or deal with Putin on different things.
Yeah, because he's not included.
And I say, have him in the room. Have him.
Oh, my God. Well, I mean, you're there. Isn't he in the room anyways? I mean, Putin's interests are being represented anyways. Maybe you're just getting some of it wrong and he's getting mad. Donnie, that's not what I said. Well, I don't understand accents. It's very hard. Just go with the transcript I gave you, man.
In the room. It used to be the G8 from a...
Right.
I don't say deserving or non-deserving. I say
yeah, you should. Deserving or non-deserving is a part of the equation. I don't talk about morality or whether or not people will get killed or ripped off.
common sense. Get things done. I want to have a
They are getting things done. One of the things they got done was getting that asshole out of the room.
nuclear pact, a safe nuclear, because nuclear is the single biggest problem the world has. Single biggest problem.
Right.
No, it isn't.
The power. And
China,
we have them, and we have more.
Nuclear, no. If you're talking about nuclear power, and you're conflating that with missiles, the G8 is an economic body. But either way, let's just say he's worried about loose nukes. Yeah, the engagement with the Russians isn't going to change because of what's going on in the G8 or the G7. Like that, he's going to sneak missiles out through Kazakhstan or wherever if he wants to.
Anybody, we have more than anybody. China is a very big problem, and we did very well with China. But then they sent us the plague.
Is that deal done? Is that deal done?
The trade deal is done, but the trade deal got finished, and the ink wasn't dry when the virus floated over from China and started killing everybody in the world. Not just here, in the whole world. You look at Brazil, look at these countries, look at what Italy went through, and Spain, and France, and
it's not my fault. They died, a bunch of people died over there. South Korea with their, they lost 235 people.
All of them. The whole world, 186 countries. So when you say, is the trade deal done? Yeah, the trade deal's done. It was a great deal.
No, he's asking you if it's still applied, if it's over, if it's ruined, if it's decimated. Is it done like it's not going to happen? You're thinking, is it signed? And it isn't.
China was having, before the plague, China was having the worst year they've had in 66 years. That's because of me. And I'm not proud of that. I'm just saying.
Why wouldn't you be? Because it's not actually because of you?
That these presidents let China pick our pockets. And I did a great trade deal. But you know what? I'm not excited about anything with respect to China right now because of what happened. They could have sealed it. They could have closed it off. And I asked this, why is it Wuhan? It came out of Wuhan.
Oh, this is the whole thing. But it didn't spread to Beijing or any of these, because China stopped people traveling out of Wuhan before you stop people traveling from Wuhan to the United States. And all right.
Why is it that it didn't go to China, but it went to the rest of
We've talked about this stuff so many times at this point.
the world? It went to Europe. It went
playing the hits
to the world. It went to the United States. Came out of it, but it didn't go to Beijing. It didn't go to other parts of China.
Yeah, it did.
Now, what's that all about? So how come they let it go out to the world, but they didn't let it go into China? That's a little.
Because their numbers are wrong. Because they made up those numbers. Because there was spread in Shanghai and the outlying areas, and Beijing and the outlying areas.
Strange deal going on.
They're a communist country. They lock people up who are sick. They put people in boxes and drove them away.
There.
Lastly, I know you've been taking aim at Joe Scarborough and Chris Cuomo. Why put them in your crosshairs when there's so many other huge problems out there?
I have to see these guys, Mr. President, at these journalistic meetings and stuff. And why would you hit Joe Scarborough so badly when you wouldn't be president if that asshole hadn't put you on TV for 2 years straight in your pajamas?
I just do it. People hit me, I hit back. It's just, I fight. I've always felt that about Scarborough. I have a lot of people in Florida.
I've always felt that about Scarborough. Really? When he was your guest, you thought he was a murderer. You thought he'd murdered a woman. So that's why you took pictures smiling with him. You do realize this is freaking insane, right? You do realize that I always felt he was a murderer. Yeah, you were on his show every day for almost 2 years straight. They called you up all the time. You're like, you're doing a great job. In the back of my head, I know you murdered a woman in your office. Probably to hide an affair in my mind, because that's the only reason I can think of for killing a woman. They're just not worth the effort otherwise. But I always thought that about you. which is why I couldn't wait to be on your show every day. What?
Felt he got away with murder, I think. So
I've always felt that way, that he got away with murder. But is my voice robotic? Sorry, did it happen on the internet? Oh, it's the mic? Is my mic being weird? Hold on. Let's see if we're doing better. Let's see if we do. Is that okay, guys? Is that all right? Yeah? That one still is going both. That's very strange. I don't know why. It's very strange, yeah? So, hold on. Take this guy up. In dock, muted. Okay. Better? Was it still digital? Thanks. Sometimes the battery gets a little low, and I can't help it. But my voice sounds completely natural now. Good on you.
Always felt that that's not a uncommon story. I mean, if you
that old chestnut.
Look at it, so we don't have to waste time on it. But
because I'm gonna get sued.
I've always felt that he got away with murder. That was
I've always felt that he got away with murder. Just wrap your head around that. How many people do you know in your life that you're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure they murdered someone, but I can't wait to go to their barbecue. I mean, because doesn't that say worse shit about you? Right?
Feeling, a very strong feeling, and I do feel it.
I feel it. I'm a psychic. Most people don't know I am a psychic detective. I'm like the fat Magnum PI.
As far as Chris Cuomo, no, I just report on his ratings. His ratings are terrible, unlike your ratings at Fox and Friends, where you're doing fantastically well. Thank you, Mr.
And, it really doesn't matter who's more honest. It's about how many people watch shit.
By the way, fiction always beats nonfiction in terms of, you could say that,
I don't believe Chris Cuomo because he doesn't have the ratings of Fox and Friends. Of course, most of my beliefs are formed about about Life by The Bachelor and Charmed because they have better ratings than Fox and Friends.
President, I think I help you a lot, but you have three great people, including...
Right. Thanks, Richard. I always felt Trump was a racist and a rapist. Yeah, me too. Which is why I would not be excited to talk to the man for 2 years straight and look forward to talking on his show and say, I'm always so, very important, this part of the whole conversation. Sorry if my voice got lower there for a moment. Sometimes it happens, and I fix it. And I'll bring up the volume a bit. Hopefully that fixes it. I become Australian whenever I'm working on mic issues so I don't lose my mind. Fair dinkum. Crack the tubes.
You used to be a 6, then you got to be a 7 or 8.
Oh my God, now he's talking about his figure.
And now you're approaching the 9 territory, but those...
You get some fake boobs, you'll be a solid 10. I'd do you, Brian.
The 2 are great,
thanks.
and they're great.
Always room for improvement. That's what a good coach does. You leave
That's right.
room
That's
for
right.
improvement.
There is. That's true.
Mr. President, it's a critical time in America's history. Best of luck the rest of the way.
The rest of the way.
Enjoy the rest of the day and all your meetings.
Thank you very much, Brian. You take care. Congratulations on 10 years. That's fantastic. Thanks.
So that's why he called in, was just because Brian Kilmeade's, it was his anniversary. Good Lord. Okay, so there's a piece of this. Where is it? Here you go. Oh, no, I don't want to do that one first. Here you go. This is Trump talking to, this is the Newsmax interview. This is him talking to Sean Spicer, who, by the way, okay, Sean is apparently blushing to be around the president. Or he is a naturally... I'm very crackly. Am I crackling, ling? Uh-oh. I'm crackly. So very strange. I think it might be just the heat of the moment. If I speak too loudly, who can say? Let me see if I got this whole thing. Take the... oh, I know what it is. Sometimes I always get caught up in this, and it ends up being the ridiculous... where is it? Comes loop back. It isn't crackling? Okay, good. Thank you. I always follows after, and it makes me panic, and there's so many things, and I've got to deal with it, and it just drives me nuts. So, okay. Makeup and lighting are very important. I'm just saying, as if you're going to be on television, you either want no makeup, so it's just you, and you just deal with it. You go, this is what my face looked like in the situation I was in. Or, if you're going to have someone do your makeup, or God forbid you're going to do your own, you want to shoot for some consistency, give yourself a once-over. And if at some point you have a, let's say, just an oddly pink complexion, and you decide to slather on pancake makeup with a weird beige tint and forget to do your ears, and while you're waiting around for the shoot and you're doing all this other stuff, you drink coffee or something like that, and you spill it down your face, and it is literally so caustic and hot that it burns off the makeup on your face. Just reapply. You know what I mean? Like, give yourself a little, hey, I spilled my coffee and it ran down my chin. Can you give me a little touch up there, somebody, anybody? Because I don't want to look like a monster. I'm not wearing makeup, for the record, so I'm not against it. I will again. I look fantastic in makeup, especially in drag. But that said, if you're gonna do it right, as the song says. Both of them seem to be licking from the same palette tonight too. Oh no, they can afford a makeup artist. There's a makeup artist working there. And oh, you mean me? I don't know. But yipes. Oh, and I have a direct message I have to check. People are sliding into my DMs. And a bunch of people like retweets and stuff. People apparently, since I last looked. Look at that. Look up Hal Sparks in drag, and you'll find a bunch of Queer as Folk pictures of me in drag. I look fantastic. If I was blonde in that. Well, we'll get into that later. Here we go. Look at the makeup on these two guys.
So you talked about, Jeff Sessions being a mistake. Is there any other?
Ew. First of all, the tie is super red. So someone is jacking up the reds in this to some degree. So it might be why both of them look a little peaked. Or they might have just both shared a rail right before this started. But the bags under Trump's eyes are packed and ready to go. He's got 2 tickets to paradise and the bags to go with him.
Mistakes that you think that you've made, or people that you shouldn't have hired, or that
what color do you think your face is in real life that you do that? I mean,
regret, not that.
Well, I've made a lot of great moves. I've hired some great people. You know some of them.
He asked him for mistakes, and where does he go to? I'm going to do that pivot from now on. And he goes, you got anything to repent for? No, I think I've done some fantastic things. You guys are lucky.
But we have some great people in government.
I hope I'm not on the bad list, right?
No, you're on a good list. You did a very good job, and you're doing very good now, and you did very well in Dancing with the Stars.
Thank you, Mr. President.
No, he didn't.
A lot of our fans were out there. I don't know if you were quite as good as your result, but we'll leave that.
Your support was better than my dancing.
The blotchy, The blotching, and what is happening with the blotching? Like, did he go like this? It looks like there's an outline on his face where he was like, and it just came off on his hand. Am I not wrong? It looks like he's got it looks like that's exactly what happened. Or maybe should we see if Trump stands up and if there's any beige makeup on his, oh.
I think you got a lot of great support. Well, that's because people like you and respect you, but
Thanks, sir.
not necessarily as a dancer, but that's okay. But no, Sessions was a mistake, a big mistake for me. And, you know, this stuff should have never happened. It's now coming out that it should have never started. They had no.
No, it's not coming out. As a matter of fact, the opposite is what was like. It was absolutely justified based on the Flynn transcripts.
Evidence, they had no proof.
Yeah, so they had no evidence, they had no proof. Cut that piece. Let's see. I think might have lost this or whatever. Oh, this is the whole link of it. Hold on, let me find the other. I'll find some of the other ones and talk to you guys. But doesn't it look like he coughed and literally wiped his makeup off on his hand? Because it was like this weird. I'm just saying, my CSI Miami education is really coming on strong in this situation. Let's see, Trump latest. Let's see. I'll reload that page. See if it comes back up. Oh, there it is. Whoops, come back. Come back, you. Click in there, you rat. Oh, this is good. Hold on. We got to open it on YouTube. So, hold on. Oh, and it's 20. Look at this. And, oh, the glorious. Look at the quality of this stuff. I'm Sean Spicer, and these are my graphics. I'm a grown man. All right. Says the guy who works really hard on his own graphics. But, I mean, I appreciate them. I got, you know, it's like, to the graphics team that worked on this, hey, it's a paycheck. Look at this. Look at the pictures of who's available. Nancy Pelosi is the one, and there's Schumer over in the corner. And then look at the surrounding, and look at the picture of Jim Jordan. Wow, that must have been snapped as he was walking out of the locker room where he ignored sexual assault claims against one of his fellow coaches by dozens of underage people. Just kind of, yeah, that moment that happened. Then Spicer and Company, Spicer and Peppa.
Welcome to a special edition.
That shocked me. That was a little too intense right out of the gate. And yeah, this
Spicer and
we're gonna ride this makeup through the whole thing. And starting at the forehead right here, they just gave up. Like, let's just pretend his hair is there and we won't do this part of his head. It's another thing. If you're gonna apply makeup, go all the way to the hairline and a little into it, and then you reset the hair. Just saying, that's how it's done. Be a professional. Spicer paid good money for those graphics, and now Rosenstein says he won't approve Russia warrant now. That's the lead right under Spicer's. Look what it comes up. Says he won't approve Russia warrant now. Did they just put, like,
look, if you want the interview, Sean, I know we have a history together, but you're going to have to put that Rosenstein is leaving the Russians alone and just run a ticker of it's not Russia's fault and Sleepy Joe.
Company, I'm Sean Spicer. We are joined today by the President of the United States.
Why does he sound like he just learned how TV shows work? Hi, I'm Sean Spicer, and this is Show. Come on, man.
Mr. President, welcome to Newsmax.
Touch my feet. I'm staying away from you, Sean. I'm practicing anti-social distancing.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President.
Hal should do drag makeup one day for Twitch. Okay, it's a deal, I will.
Tell me, what were you thinking? What was going on?
Just start right there. What were you thinking?
What do you mean, about what?
just your whole fucking life.
Your heart and your mind when you saw that video of George Floyd being killed?
Well, it was a terrible thing. It should never have happened.
Try not to use the exact same language you use about China virus.
Something snapped, I think, with the policeman and the other.
Something snapped. He can't be responsible for his actions. Obviously.
3 watching it were, I guess you can't put it in the same category, but it was certainly in a very bad category.
The 3 watching. 2 others were helping. 1 was standing by, keeping bystanders away, told them not to do drugs.
And nothing good comes
aiding and abetting
out of that. No, that was a very bad thing.
Nothing comes good out of that. That was a very bad thing. Again, generic language. The officer snapped, which means it wasn't his fault. Could be read either way you want. Literally, this is pandering to the base by like going, it was a terrible thing, should have never happened. What do you mean? Oh, the filming of it.
You know, you've been a champion of opportunity zones. You passed criminal justice reform, add increased funding to historically black colleges.
Yeah, because Democrats put that in bills.
Property owner, you opened a club that welcomed blacks and Jews at a time when others wouldn't.
What point in history has this man been alive that he opened a club that welcomed blacks and Jews when other clubs wouldn't? You mean golfing?
Does it hurt you to know that some people don't recognize that? And
look at your actions and not the sort of PR posing that you do around race?
What could you be doing to help unite the country and heal people?
Well, it does hurt me, and we also have, if you look before the plague came in from China, which should have never happened, they should have never.
It was an awful thing. I think the Chinese just snapped.
Allowed that to happen. But before that happened, we had the best black unemployment rate in the history of our country, more home ownership, more everything. In every way, African Americans were in better shape than they ever were.
Yeah. First of all, low bar. Secondly, we should always be on a constantly improving situation for African Americans and other minorities as far as home ownership and jobs and unemployment in general. They should at least track with the rest of the populace. Just saying. And the disparity between the two, because of laws that have been passed over time, have started to link up. Even though they're below, they're arcing at the same point. Now, eventually, they will join, and then it will be up to members of any particular community at all if they elevate past it, like the Asian community has done with a bunch of other things, or not. But at least they should track with everybody else. You know, we're all in the same boat. Nobody has to be below deck in a rowboat. Like,
will be again very soon, because the numbers are going to start going up very soon. I did it once, now I'll do it.
Thanks, can't stop lying. Yeah.
Again, we created the greatest economy in the history of our country. You know that very well. You were a part of it. And we did something.
No, he wasn't. You fired him.
Thing that, frankly, nobody thought was possible. And we'll do it again. And
why would nobody think it was possible? Why would it be impossible? Why does nobody think that we couldn't get 100% employment? Does anybody not believe we couldn't get, I don't know, unemployment, especially functional unemployment, meaning literally everybody who wants a job can get a job? Why wouldn't that be at 100%? I'm obviously not thinking that, like, schizophrenics or people with, you know, like debilitating mental disease can't get a job of their choice, that kind of thing. We would give them help, for example. But I can imagine it. And part of imagining it is imagining it in a world where people don't walk down the streets with long guns with 30-round magazines.
Even better with a little time. And you're going to start seeing numbers in September, October that are going to be mind-boggling. I see it
now
already. I mean, it's happening. But yeah, I mean, I would like to have fair press, basically, because the numbers are obvious.
Boo-hoo.
There. if I don't see it, if I don't go on shows like this and other shows, I won't.
There are no shows like this. Spicer and Company is in a league all its own. There are no other shows that happen in the White House with the worst application of makeup since I'm going to have to go with Nixon-Kennedy debates.
Get those numbers out.
I wanted to actually have the wallpaper of the room applied to my face, but they said that wasn't possible, Mr. President.
But we did the best job in the history. If you look, criminal justice reform, historically black colleges and universities, I funded that on a permanent basis. President Obama didn't do that.
Yeah, he couldn't do it.
President Bush, nobody did it. I took care of it. So many different things when you look. Opportunity zones with, as you...
You mean like enterprise zones? Like, gee, I wonder who put that in. I mean, you were at... Didn't they come to your wedding?
With our very great senator.
Thanks, Bumblebee Yellow.
And he is indeed a great senator from South Carolina. And Tim's a friend of mine. He's a friend of yours. And he did a great job. And he came to me with this idea. And I said, sounds good. Let's give it a shot. Well, it's mind-boggling what happened to that. And
yeah, it's amazing how there was no opposition to it.
It's great.
Because Democrats are all for it and have been. And Republicans have been the wall against it.
The opportunity zones. We've done so much.
We were doing so bad in the polling, we had to throw money at it.
Don't get credit for it. But criminal justice reform, you know that, had no chance of getting done. Everybody tried. Nobody could get it. And I was able to get it done.
And here's two men talking about criminal justice reform as if only blacks are in jail. Now, are they disproportionately? Absolutely. But criminal justice reform, you would think, would apply evenly to people who were over-sentenced, people who were, given an unfair trial, didn't have access to quality legal representation, all those kind of things, had been, mistreated in prison, of all races. But somehow,
and if you listen,
these guys think that the way you pander to the black community is solely criminal justice reform and rebranding of Clinton ideas and calling it, what are they,
the people,
progress zones?
It's like we didn't do it. And I was the one that got it done, totally done. And it's a great thing, and people are really happy with it. But the news doesn't treat anything we do fairly. That's why I have to get...
What? Hi, Murph. Had a cat come in and visit. Hi, Murph. What are you doing? Did you have something to say? Oh. That's okay. He came in to visit. That was a solid one.
I didn't speak for myself.
When I was with the U.S. Press Secretary, Chief Ryan Owens was killed in action. I was in the Oval Office with you when you called his wife. You spoke to her in such a heartfelt way to comfort her. You provided that emotional stability that she...
Hang on a second. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're dovetailing from that to a white Navy SEAL, who was killed, and that's very sad. They're going to talk about how Trump spoke with his mother and all this emotional support for the nation. This is going to be about how empathetic he is.
At the time. Do you think that right now the nation needs you to express that same sort of comfort and healing that some people need to heal?
Yeah, no, I talked at George Floyd's brother, and he didn't like that I talked at him because he's probably, for the other team. Also, don't I look amazing?
Right now, I think the nation needs law and order.
Okay, so that's a no.
Because you have a bad group of people out there.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna tear gas the country.
And they're using George Floyd, and they're using a lot of other people to try and do some bad things. And what we do, and we have it totally under control. But you,
like the pandemic.
Democrat, in many cases, in all cases, Democrat, super liberal mayors. I mean, the mayor of Minneapolis was
Minneapolis. You guys ever been to Minneapolis? It's Annapolis, but smaller. It's like the Lego Annapolis. Like it's in Maryland. If you go to Annapolis, Maryland, they have a tiny Annapolis that you can go to. It's adorable.
disgraceful when I watched that. When I saw cops fleeing a precinct, there's no reason in a million years that should have been done.
Yeah, just turn around and shoot indiscriminately into the crowd.
And we took that mess, that was a total mess. We brought in the National Guard. We took care of it. Now it's very good.
You don't bring in the National Guard. The governor requests that you didn't federalize the National Guard. The governor brought in their own National Guard. It's the National Guard.
Look at that area.
They have access to National Guard troops within their state.
It's very good.
You didn't send in National Guard troops from the rest of the country.
So, yeah, we need healing, but we also need strength, and we need toughness, and we need law and order. We need it all, but we do need healing.
Yeah. Do you get that? Did everybody get that? We need strength and law and order, but we do need healing. But we also need, yeah.
You send in the military to any cities in particular to restore that law and order?
Well, it depends. I don't think we'll have to.
Yeah. You don't have to. You just want them standing around looking scary on national monuments. And by the way, there's a ton of those, you know, those reports about the, you know, them being given bayonets and all that kind of stuff. And a ton of those troops were literally radioing in, we can't deploy yet, we have other stuff we're waiting on, just dragging their feet because they knew they were going to be asked to do really shitty stuff, and just like, yeah, we can, you know, we'd love to be there, Mr. President, but we can be there in about 12 hours. I need you there in 6. Well, we can come in tomorrow morning. Well, we don't need you tomorrow. Well, then, do you know what? Just stay over there. We'll call you when we need you.
We have very strong powers to do it. The National Guard is customary, and we have a very powerful National Guard.
Customary? It comes, you know, like a mint on your pillow.
100,000.
Or pee on your pillow.
Men and women, and we can do
the customary urine in the bed.
Pretty much whatever we want as far as that, but as far as going beyond that, sure, if it was necessary.
Sure, why not? You know, if you need to, you send in the military into an American city like it's, you know, whatever.
We have Antifa, we have anarchists, we have terrorists, we have looters. We have a lot of bad people in those groups.
Yeah, and one of the ways you don't handle it is attack large groups of protesters who those people might be hiding in, and yeah, and cause more problems to ratchet up because you're causing the whole thing that started with an overreaction by authority figures with outsized power by making the same mistake again in multiple sites. You ratchet that down. That's what he was saying. Do you come forward and go, we need healing in this country, we need to speak to them, where you sit with the people instead of pushing people out of the ways and using smoke grenades and pepper balls so that you can wander over and hold the Bible up like it's a trophy you got at camp.
And you watch and you see. Now, if you watch MSDNC or if you watch...
See what I did there? MSDNC. Because if you take the letters and you say, yeah.
Which is one of them. And if you watch fake news, CNN, totally fake news. I mean, I watch, it's almost like these are the most wonderful people on earth. They're not. Right. When you look at the...
No. Do you only watch the chunks that Fox feeds you? Is that how it works? With them talking over it like I do with you?
Real clips. They're not. There are a lot of bad people, and there are a lot of good people. There's some great people.
But, you know, if you're a good person and you're in with that, there's bad people around you, you're going to catch a rubber bullet to the face. Because I'm proud to be an American.
There are a lot of really, really bad people in there. Ooh. And you have a lot of radical left crazy people, and you have people that don't want good for our country.
All right.
At the same time, we need healing and all of those things, but we need safety in our cities. And when they don't take care of it, we took care of it in Washington, D.C. I said 2 days ago.
Yeah, Washington, D.C. falls under the military of the United States. Like, literally, that's one of the reasons why D.C. doesn't have statehood, quite frankly. It's because it is effectively a fortress town.
It's the safest place on earth. We brought in incredible people. They took care of the situation very easily. It was very easy for them.
Because there weren't the problem you were pretending there was. and you were attacking people who weren't there attacking things. You had taggers.
And in Minnesota, as you know, we took care of that situation with their great city. We took care of it very easily. Once they went through 3 days of hell, and I had to say, you got to get them in.
That's what I did. When I said you got to stop people burning down black-owned businesses who wearing all black from out of town with MAGA stickers on their trucks, I was like, you guys got to...
They came in, it was like a knife cutting butter. It was so...
It was like a knife cutting butter. It's like butter. I sent in the troops. It was like butter. The governor calls in the...
And
you don't need permission from the federal government to call up the National Guard.
But we have other cities they like to hold out. New York is disaster what's going on in New York. And we could help them a lot. They have to ask.
No, they can call up their own National Guard within the state. They don't need them.
If they don't get it straight,
it would escalate things.
Out soon, I'll take care of it.
Why did you go?
Ugh, God damn, his makeup is freaking me out.
St. John's the other day. What was the message that you wanted to send to people?
That I'm the Carrot Top of Christians. No offense to Carrot Top.
So I went there because somebody suggested it was a good idea, and I thought it was a great idea, and it was a great idea. I didn't know if there were people around there or not. Somebody.
You didn't know. You didn't know if there were people around there or not.
Said, oh, they were so peaceful. Well, they tried to burn down the church today.
Those people didn't. Those weren't the people who tried to burn it down. That happened the other night.
Before, it almost succeeded.
People who are outside weren't the ones who burned it down. And if they were, get video, arrest people. You don't bulldoze the entire group.
The church was badly hurt. And that church was built at a similar...
Emotionally, or was it verklempt? What kind of hurt are we talking?
Time to the White House. Adams was your first parishioner, your first president parishioner. And he was the first, as you know, President Adams, the first president in the White House, from the White House. And...
in the White House, from the White House? And he went over, wasn't it Madison that he spoke about in the other one, the sixth president?
A very important symbol, and they tried to burn it down. Then I heard what...
Yeah, who's they?
Wonderful people they are. No, they tried to burn...
Yeah, we're not talking about the protesters. The people who tried to burn the church down aren't the protesters. The protesters aren't the, like, if you can't differentiate the two, you're insane.
Down the church. And the military moved him back.
Yes, he did say Madison earlier. We heard the other, like, ugh. Do I have a bunker? Of course I have a bunker. I don't have a bunker.
I guess they just reported there were no, what would you call them, the rubber bullets or whatever. There was none of that used. They just moved him back. They didn't know.
They used pepper balls. They used pepper spray paintballs that leave welts and sting your eyes just like tear gas does, but they hurt when they hit you, as opposed to just throwing a bunch of them in the crowd. And they were hitting people with their shields. Did you see the way they hit the Australian camera guy?
Until just shortly before that I was going there. Somebody suggested, I said, let's go, let's walk.
Let's walk over there. Let's just show of force. So push everyone out of the way so I can walk over there.
We walked from the White House, and I think everything was handled very well. I will tell you, religious leaders loved it.
Religious leaders.
Religious leaders thought it was great. They loved it.
Since you've been president, have you grown in your faith?
Oh, Sean, look at the look on his face. You bastard. Have you grown in your faith?
Well, I've become even more faithful in myself.
Have you grown in your faith? Are you shitting me?
Yes, I've spoken with both Corinthians.
Pray? Do you pray often?
Look at that face.
Let's see. How do I say no without pissing off the evangelicals, but say yes without looking weak, because prayer means you're weak?
Look at this. Yeah, groan in his faith.
I groan. I go, oh, whatever.
You've talked a lot about...
Yeah,
in this week. What does it mean to you?
So
I think I'm very popular with the.
Maybe I have, from the standpoint that I see so much that I can do. I've done so much for religion. The Johnson Amendment, getting rid of Mexico City. Nobody thought any of this stuff would happen. 2 Supreme Court judges.
Mexico City? What?
Justices. And by the way, if the other side.
2 Supreme Court justices? He asked you about your own personal faith, whether you pray or whatever, not how you placate evangelicals to try and gain their vote. He means literally.
And I call them the radical left because
I've grown in my faith in that I know that Jesus would want me to call out my enemies, vilify them, and rain death upon them.
Biden has gone way left, but he doesn't know where he is.
Which is what Bible verse is that? And lo, did Biden go far left, but he didn't realize how far left until he looked from the mountain and saw Trump humping the golden calf.
But he's surrounded by people that are put there that are serious radical left. You won't have a Second Amendment.
Because that's in my growth of my faith. I've understand that if I know anything from the Bible, and especially as a Christian, in the New Testament, it's that guns.
You won't have religious liberty. You won't have anything.
You won't have religious liberty.
I used to say the other election, the last election, 2016, that you were a part of, I used to say that that was the most important election. I think it's superseded now because...
It's superseded now because I need to be reelected, and I'm actually not within the margin of error with this guy. And Russia, people aren't believing every piece of bullshit they see online like they did.
They've gone stone cold crazy.
Stone cold crazy. Lo, the Lord did look down upon them and said, they have created sanctuary cities, and they are trying to protect the weakest among them. They have gone stone cold crazy. And the moon was as sackcloth. And
they will do things that you wouldn't believe, and that includes...
You wouldn't believe, like...
Ending your Second Amendment. It includes open borders where everybody pours in. On the wall that you don't hear about anymore, right? You know why you don't?
Yeah, because you're using defense funds to just rebuild the sections of the wall that already existed, and your stupid design isn't changing a damn thing?
Here? Because it's built. 210 miles is already built. And we're building the rest. By the end of the year, we'll have close to 400 miles, and shortly into next year, we'll have it totally completed. And every mile that we build, you have less and less people. We're setting records for low levels of people coming in. And when they come in, they get...
Yeah, because... Oh, God. Because we have more infections than Mexico, and Mexico stopped people coming in from here.
Taken right out. Nobody's ever had a southern border like what we have right now. It's been...
Because no one's going anywhere because of a pandemic?
Actually, it's been an incredible thing. You don't hear about it. The Democrats don't talk about it anymore.
Yeah, nobody's worried about you dicking around with repairing chunks of wall with defense funds that you are spending willy-nilly. That'll come up, and they're going to undo that pretty easily.
But they want open borders. That means drugs.
No, they don't want open borders. You were just defending the part of the open borders policy that everybody talks about in terms of migrant workers and allowing those folks to come in, do the work, and go home if they live in Mexico. That you were just saying that the Texas farmers and people in the border states need those kind of things. They need migrant workers or they're going to fall apart. Like talking to farmers and your little farmer breakout. That's what they were talking about. That's what you're talking about. That's what everybody's talking about. But tell me again about who works at Mar-a-Lago.
Human traffickers. That means all of
That's what human traffickers. Let's see. Human traffickers. Who has a video of himself making Jeffrey Epstein laugh?
These horrible things. That means people pouring into our country. So the wall has done great. That was...
Yeah, they're pouring in.
Hard to get. I mean, I had a party that was a Democrat party that was so against it. But now you don't hear about it. I think the other reason you don't hear about it is basically they know I'm right. Building...
No.
Wall, especially once the pandemic came.
Yeah, they have bigger fish to fry.
Because if you look at Tijuana, right on the other side of the border, it's one of the most infected places on earth. And we have a wall, and that's a good thing that we have a wall. We built it.
Yeah. Really? So it's like World War Z in Tijuana, and they're just crawling over they're trying to get into San Diego, what? To get medical treatment? You do realize people drive across the border into Mexico to get drugs cheaper in Tijuana. That's one of the biggest industries in that town, is pharmaceutical drugs that you can buy generic or cheap or without a prescription in Mexico. You know, they have all that stuff that, like, you realize. All right.
Talked about the wall and immigration. You've been very.
Wait a minute. Back off. Didn't you just ask him if he's deepened his faith? We ended on the wall. Have you grown in your faith? Do you pray daily? And that's what we got?
Off on crime. You've sent the National Guard out this week. There's a lot of people that want to know if police reforms will help the systemic racism and issues that many black people face in this country.
This will be good.
That's something that you could get behind.
Well, I heard Biden talking about systemic racism in the police department today. And I said, a very simple question. He's been there for 43 years. Why didn't he do something about it?
He's talking about what he will do as president when he has the power of the presidency.
I've only been doing this for 3.5 years.
And I haven't done shit.
He's been there for...
I got empty cupboards, and I left them empty for 3.5 years.
43, 44 years.
Yeah, he was a public defender, and then he ran for Congress to help people in his district. He's worked very hard at that. He was so much so that he ended up being the vice president to the first black president. You think they didn't vet a bunch of people and decide, hey, this guy's actually done some good work and can do some outreach to the kind of folks that might be pushing back against this? But tell us what you've done since you and your dad got fined by the state of New York and for not voting, renting to black people.
He was there 8 years as vice president. He had plenty of time. I mean, he was taking a lot of vacations.
Was he? Did he take a lot of vacations? Really? Did he, while he was vice president, did he spend 324 years worth of vice presidential salary vacationing at his own properties while he charged the Secret Service retail?
Isn't it easy sending his son over to China to pick up $1.5 billion?
Just pick it up in a briefcase? How did he get it through customs?
Sending him to Ukraine, where he was paid $83,000 a month, and
to shepherd investors' money because his family name was trustworthy. Something your children will not ever be able to do.
$3 million up front or something?
Yeah. On the kind of money that people were investing in oil and gas to try and steady it in Ukraine to push back against Russian influence and broom out the Russian actors in that area. And those people are like, I'm not giving my money into that project unless somebody's watching it. Biden's vice president, if his kid watches it, he can't run off with my money.
I would tell you why he had plenty of...
But Don Jr. would totally piss off with my cash, even if his dad's president. Probably with his blessing.
Why wouldn't he do this? This is Sleepy Joe. But now he's talking about systemic racism in the police department. Why?
Yeah, right.
Wouldn't he have done something about it?
Yeah, because he's not a local mayor. He's not a chief of police. They passed bills like... You just woke up to giving a shit about this, and you're questioning what he's been doing? Mr. Full-page ad in the New York Times about the Central Park Five?
He had all the time.
He could have, done what I did, which was call for the death penalty.
So now he says, I'm going to...
For juveniles.
Well, he's there 43 years. He was a senator, in all fairness. That's a very big position. You could do what you want to do. But
you can do what you want to do as a senator. All right. So what's the point of becoming president if you don't have access to more power and more direction in the government, or you're not talking to the people about what you plan to do with your presidency that you were unable to do as, I don't know, a mayor of Indiana or a senator from California or Massachusetts or some dickhead game show host?
He was vice president for 8 years. He hasn't done anything.
You didn't donate to charities, for example. You stole charity money. Why didn't you help with all the issues you were on? You broomed someone off stage at a charity event you didn't give money to that they did.
except things that were bad for the black population. Very bad. African American population was treated very badly by Biden.
Oh yeah? How? Is that really? Is that why Obama chose him?
He didn't know it, and he doesn't know it now, honestly.
He didn't know it. He didn't know they were treated badly, and yeah. And you know, no black population was treated worse than Clarence Thomas.
I don't think he knows where he is.
Last week you signed an.
I don't think he knows where he is. I know where he is. He was at his house doing town halls. Then he went out on the street and he shook hands with protesters. He kneeled at a black church and had a listening session, and he gave a speech on what he would do to deal with the issues that are happening in this, and called for healing. I know where he is. Do you know where? Do you know? I mean, I don't even know what you're looking at right now. Sean Spicer's face is scaring the crap out of me. Do you know where you are? You didn't even know how long you spent in the bunker.
Executive order asking the Federal Communications Commission to look into Section 230 of the Federal Decency Act. The Federal Trade Commission, though, was also part of your executive order. Would you like the Federal Trade Commission to look into these social media platforms in terms of unfair trade practices?
Yeah.
Yes, although I don't know what that means. I would look at how powerful Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, and I would look at how Twitter has, you know, they need to be held accountable for questioning me, while Facebook still runs ads that are paid for in rubles, and they own Instagram, and they're creating their own currency. I don't think that's a problem. I think the fact that Twitter fact-checked me.
You have federal trade and you have federal communications. They can both.
Like the World Trade Organization, you have the World Health Organization, and since the letters are very similar, except for one in each case, I think they're the same thing, and I don't know.
Look into it, but and you don't know that they're not, to be honest with you. So, let's see.
What? Wait, what? What was that again? Hold on.
With you, so let's see what happens.
Right. Would
communications, they can both look into it, but and you don't know that they're not, to be honest with you. So.
Oh, so we're the Federal Trade Commission and the FCC, you don't know that they're not both looking into, so we're supposed to believe or not believe, or
I could tell you, Sean, but I'd have to kill you.
If the Federal Trade Commission is looking into antitrust issues on Twitter.
Let's see what happens.
Right.
Let's see what happens.
Nothing.
Would you, the Department of Justice is also looking into Google because it's, many claim that it has a biased search engine. Would you
boo friggity who
support them?
Guess what? If you have a biased search engine, you will lose clients because your search engine is artificially favoring stuff as opposed to allowing people to search for what they want. And those customers in the free market will eventually realize, wow, I'm not getting the kind of results I would like to look at. So I can go to Bing and I can go back to,
I only trust Ask Jeeves because it's the closest thing, you know.
There are multiple search engines. So what? I don't believe they are, but if Google is limiting their search results, ultimately all that does is hurt Google. This asshole just can't believe that the #1 search results that you get are anti-Trump, because that's the vast majority of the stories that are genuinely out there.
All this information is anti-Trump.
You mean reality? By the way, oh God. Do your eyelids when you do your makeup. Do the same.
Filing an antitrust
Well, I think
act.
you have a lot of situations. Look what Amazon's doing to our country.
What is Amazon doing to our country?
Amazon's destroying all these shopping malls and shopping centers.
That's what it is. Not people buying stuff online and having it shipped to their house during a pandemic. It's Amazon's fault. Remember how thriving malls were?
Where you have a lot of workers, you go through.
Like I was watching Valley Girl the other day. Malls are not what they used to be. I mean, I mean, I remember when Hal Sparks hosted a show called Treasure Mall. You couldn't do that today. You'd have to do Treasure Amazon, and who wants to see that?
Beautiful
Actually, that sounds fun.
town, you know, Perfect Town, USA, okay?
Perfect Town, USA. Oh, you mean the places Walmart fucked up?
Perfect Town, USA used to have a little store here, a little...
Yeah, and you know who wiped those out? With a shit ton of cheap Chinese goods? Walmart.
Along the main, main...
You don't like Amazon because Amazon gives Walmart a run for their money.
I guess you'd call it, right? Mm-hmm. These towns are wiped out now. Amazon's doing... I mean, you talk about antitrust. I don't say I'm doing anything one way or the other, but look at...
Because you're not doing anything.
What Amazon's doing to our cities and our everything.
What is Amazon doing to our cities? Sorry, but it's a delivery service, and the majority of the items you buy on Amazon come from smaller sellers. You, as a camera shop or a guitar shop or whatever, you can list what you have on Amazon, or you can start a drop shipping business on your own that brings items from somewhere else, put them in a store, sell them to somebody else, which is a huge industry in the United States. Tons of people have become millionaires doing that. His problem with Amazon is that it's ruining Walmart's business plan, because you buy the regular shit off of Amazon and you get it from these smaller shops. Good Lord. Yeah, malls are being ruined by Amazon.
Talk about antitrust, so we'll see what...
No. Plus, you can buy stuff on Etsy and eBay. Alibaba exists over here. You can buy... There are a bunch of other sites. Just because people favor one does not mean that that's the only... If you go on Amazon Shopping or Google Shopping, for example, Amazon will be one of 10 possible responses you get when you're looking for an item. And it will more than likely, especially, you have an option to turn on Near Me so you can find stuff that you can go to an actual store. I do that all the time. Well, outside of pandemics.
Happens? I'm not...
But, like, this is just a joke. This is just him trying to get at Bezos.
I'm doing anything or not doing it?
Because you're not doing anything. He's not going to do anything. If he started to do something, the Republicans would rip him to shit for attacking business like that.
But there's tremendous damage, and the jobs that are being lost, and...
Jobs aren't being lost. There's a bunch of jobs. Most of the Walmart workers in an area might shift to an Amazon shipping center, perhaps. And you can talk about legitimate concerns with Amazon's warehouses and all that kind of stuff. But a good portion of it, they're just the throughput for. Started as a bookstore online, and then now they just sell everything else.
Other things, but you...
And so many of these people like ordering tons of Amazon stuff and going, Amazon's a problem. Like, piss off.
Look at towns and cities and shopping...
Walmart wiped them out.
Centers and shopping areas.
Walmart wiped them out.
And it's like they're empty. They're dead.
Yeah, because Walmart wiped them out. And now Walmart is getting a run for its money because it has the biggest online shopping site in the world, and Amazon is eating into their business and keeping people from going to the physical Walmart stores. The reason Amazon is jockeying ahead of Walmart because Walmart still maintains stores, and a lot of Amazon stores they're gaining value, because they can sell on Amazon. Good joke.
They're like deserts. It's a very...
They're like deserts.
I think it's a very unpleasant thing. And
it's very unpleasant being able to order stuff directly on Amazon and bring it to you, especially from smaller buyers.
A big tax advantage, because of the taxes. They have a big tax advantage over somebody that's paying rent and has a store and
Walmart.
Employing a lot of people. And
that's what he's talking about. Walmart's been bitching at him that they need to come for Amazon.
Having people work. So I think that's something we'd look at too, yeah.
This is Sam Wall and that family saying you need to cut Amazon's hamstrings because they're getting ahead of us.
On China, you've been very tough with your tariffs on China as a country. There are some who are saying that because of what President Xi has done in terms of Hong Kong, that he should be personally sanctioned. Is that something that you'd be willing to think about?
I haven't thought of that. No, I haven't thought.
No, he's a personal friend of mine. I like dictators. I would rather the pain be felt by the Chinese people. I feel like leaders are in a different class of humans or whatever, and I feel like, you know, if I could sanction them by, I don't know, if we could just, I think we should fire pepper balls and smoke grenades into crowds of Chinese people. That would make me feel better. I wouldn't want to do anything to Xi, though.
Oh, how was your friend?
I owe his friends who own the bank $300 million. So, no, I don't see
So
it.
very, haven't spoken to him in a while. It was very good. We did the trade deal. It was one of the great deals ever made.
Now, phase one, $50 billion from our farmers, which they would have bought anyways because of the 700 million pigs that they had to cull. And they literally would have bought more. And we paid our farmers $68 billion. Great deal.
China was just ripping off this country. China was taking out 500.
They weren't ripping off this country. Walmart is almost singularly responsible for the extra 250 billion in the deficit, in the trade deficit between us and China. One-on-one, I swear to God. Like the amount of stuff that is bought by Walmart that's made in China that's sold to the American people every year, it is in the hundreds of billions of dollars.
100 billion plus a year for many years. 500 billion, not million.
Yeah, ask Sam Wall and his whole family how much stuff they buy from China versus how much stuff Americans are able to sell in China.
500 billion. And I change it around. You know, China, before the plague came in, China, again, should have never let it happen. They should have stopped it at the source, but they didn't. And the whole world.
They couldn't. It's a contagion.
Was affected so badly, so devastatingly with all that death. Forget about
Trump tried to register to vote in Florida with White House address. That was an accident. Look at that. That's a nice call up. Hold on. Check this out. Hold on. Why does this not get out of their line? That's so funny. Trump tried to register in Florida with White House address. Yeah, you mean commit voter fraud and failed?
About the money.
Trump tried to commit mail-in voter fraud and was rebuffed.
But the ink wasn't even dry on the trade deal when.
Only 31% of the people say the U.S. is headed in the right direction. They tricked him. They put that first Rosenstein thing in there to try and bait him. And now they're like, this is Spicer getting revenge for being shit on. He's just going to run a Chiron underneath him that's brutal.
It's happened. But China, before the plague, China had the worst year they've had in 67 years.
WHO will resume hydroxychloroquine trial.
It's because of me. Now, I don't say that with pride, but what's happened is China's been ripping.
Seoul Pentagon reached deal for South Korean workers' pay?
For our country for 30 years, for longer, but for 30 years. The World Trade Organization.
Ouch. Look at that one that just rolled by. Poll, Biden up 11 points over Trump nationally. Oh, at 2 Newsmax?
It's been a disaster with respect to China, and so has the World Health Organization, which would.
Wow, these are like nails in a coffin. Longtime GOP rep Steve King loses Iowa primary. I wish there was just a screen in front of Trump and he could just watch these go by and we could just watch his face.
What? No. These Chirons are fake news.
Now officially pulled out of. So it's a very, very sad thing has happened with China. But they certainly took advantage of. I mean, they're considered in the world trade. They're considered.
Barack Obama to address George Floyd death. Skewering.
A developing nation. China's not a developing nation. China's a very powerful nation. And they're developed, and we're all developing nations. We're developing too, I guess, right? I said if China's a developing nation, then we're a developing nation.
No, doesn't work that way.
By having that status, as you...
They have like 4 giant modern cities. They just have a shit ton of people. But a huge section of their country are heavily impoverished, and the entire areas are built on garbage.
Understand very well, because you understand trade. By having that status, they have tremendous advantages over the United States, and it's not acceptable. And I let them all know it a long time ago.
George W. Bush, Floyd protest call to examine nation's failures. I mean, how long was he in there? I just started this, and
it's happening now.
You know, I was speaking of the World Health Organization and what's going on here. We haven't heard a lot from Dr. Fauci in the last little while. A lot of these
is he dead?
Mayors and governors were all talking about social distancing and not gathering in large groups a couple weeks ago. I haven't heard a lot about social distancing and gathering since all of these large protests and riots.
Yeah, since I removed Fauci, and we've, you know, now Birx is coming out and saying, let's just do it.
Isn't it interesting?
Does that mean that social distancing is over? Does that mean that we don't?
No, it's not over. It's like you keep away. Like
just keep away. That's my mission. Trump 2020. Keep away.
Glad we're a little bit closer than you. I mean, I've done some interviews with a person so far over, you don't even know what they're saying.
Yeah, they're 8 feet away, and they're talking loudly in a highly reflective space.
But no, it doesn't mean that. And people are getting, we want to be back to normal, but it's a little bit soon. But
normal?
I watch these protesters, and they're the ones that are all claiming social distancing, everything else. It's really interesting. They do that, and then they're jumping on top of each other by the thousands when they're screaming and ranting and raving.
Are we talking about the Ozarks now?
Which is not a good thing. I mean, we're going to have to see how that works out. It's a very bad thing.
Yeah, it won't.
But very interesting with these liberal mayors, liberal Democrats, and governors.
And what about the areas where we had like huge bowls of redneck soup in all these pools?
How they're tough as hell on keeping people locked up in their houses. But when it comes to ending the crime and the stores being broken into and the looting, and by the way, people being hit over the back of the head, the man in Dallas that was kicked unmercifully, I never saw anything like it. He's being kicked and...
Hold on. And like, is this the dude with the machete that he keeps bringing up? That they keep bringing this? Yeah. Trump, this is from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Trump cites Dallas beating to governors, leaves out details. When President Trump demanded Monday that governors get tougher in cracking down on violence among some demonstrations, he cited Dallas protesters badly beating a man this weekend. But the president's comments left out what police suggest sparked the incident to which he seemed to be referring. The man swinging a machete at protesters. And the man was last reported to be in stable condition, contrary to Trump suggesting that he may have died. During a video conference call with the state leaders, law enforcement officials, and national security officials, Trump told the governors they needed to dominate or else wind up looking like, quote, jerks. I saw what happened in Dallas where they kicked a guy to death. I don't know if he died or not, but if he didn't, it's a miracle. What they did to him, they were kicking him like I've never seen anything like it in my life. People don't talk about that. They don't talk about that. They're talking about a lot of other things, but they don't talk about that. But I saw what happened in Dallas. Those kids, they're all on camera. They're wise guys. It's coming from the radical left. You know it. Everybody knows it. The comments appear to be referring to a graphic video of a man being beaten in Dallas Saturday night that was circulated widely on social media. One video posted on Twitter by a reporter for Blaze TV was viewed more than 33 million times. Thanks, LEC. No, I do not think he will debate Joe Biden. He will be afraid to. Dallas police said that the man was alive Sunday and in stable condition at a hospital, but that they didn't provide updates on the victim's health said they don't provide updates on victims' health unless they die, in that whole medical privacy thing. Witnesses told investigators the attack began when the man came to the protest wielding a large knife/machete at several protesters, according to Police Sergeant Warren Mitchell. He had the machete to, quote, allegedly protect his neighborhood from protesters, Mitchell said. One protester tried to fight the man off with a skateboard and managed to disarm him, but also had his hand cut. The video starts with the protesters throwing things at the man carrying a long object. He then raises it, runs at a protester carrying a skateboard, and someone is heard screaming. The camera is briefly obscured. Moments later, it focuses on a group of people punching and kicking the man. One person appears to throw a stone, striking him in the head. That's the whole hit by in the back of the head. The group then clears away, leaving the man's twisted body bleeding in the street. No one has been charged in the incident. Neither the man who was carrying the machete nor the protesters who was cut on the hand has filed a complaint. That's what he's talking about. He's not dead. Yeah, Glenn Beck's site is The Blaze. They played the video. It picks up right at the beginning of the attack.
Eaten up and probably going to die?
No, he's not. He's in stable condition, and he had a machete.
You look at all of this stuff. The woman who gets hit by a 2x4, nobody...
What about the people who were run over by cars, police vehicles pushing into people holding a barrier, that kind of thing? What about the Australian cameraman who was hit in the solar plexus with a plastic shield? What about him? Is he okay? Is he going to be all right?
It mentions that, but you look at what goes on. But the liberal mayors, they keep you locked up. But when it comes to the looting and everything, they're very weak on crime.
Are they? Why are they weak on crime? Is it because the people who were attacked with the machete, who managed to fight the guy and beat him up, and the guy who got beaten up for bringing a machete to a protest, neither one of them want to press charges? So that's because people are, because the cops are, or the mayor are soft on crime?
But I think they're going to lose an election because they are weak on crime. I watched Joe Biden talking about crime the other day. He's so weak on crime, you'll never stop the problem. And
yeah, he's so weak on crime. He listens to people. Did you hear him listening to those black people? I mean, he just listens to criminals. I mean, it was in a church, and I have no evidence that those black people are, but you know what I mean. Let's see, how Fexical Kringle says, do you think Bunker Boy will start up caravan rhetoric? Yeah, I mean, after this is over, do you think there'll be a whole, like, Mexican people, there's a horde of them coming now?
But look, I stopped at...
Why not? I mean, we've got murder hornets at this point.
Minnesota, Minneapolis, real fast.
Minneapolis. That's the second time. You can forgive a first one because you blazed past it. Trump, no, and I call bullshit on the Chiron. It should say Trump on Minneapolis. Annapolis, Maryland. It's a lovely place. There's a tiny one available. They put it on the tops of cakes when you get married there.
We insisted on the National Guard. It's up. It was brutal. They were, as you know, we said, took over the police department, took over the precinct. They took it over. Everybody, the cops were running. Those cops don't run. They were told to leave.
So that rather than fire on people, we'll deal with it later. We have cameras up. We'll keep track of who is who. We'll pull back, and then we'll gather them as they leave.
They should never.
So that we're not firing into crowds who are just there standing around or are getting caught up in the moment.
That was a horrible signal. Super liberal mayor. He was crying. He was crying. Isn't that nice? But the mayor can't cry in cases like that.
There's no crying in baseball.
So we have a very different attitude on things. I am law and order. They're not. And if
you're law and order, glung glung. Well, you do have an open rape charges against you. So is that kind of law and order? Like you're like SVU, like an episode. This guy is an episode of SVU waiting to happen.
They're not for law and order. You're going to lose the country.
You've always been a tough negotiator.
Oh, it wasn't a machete. It was a big ass sword. Well, then I have a little more respect for him because I have a giant sword, and I think you should be able to carry swords. If you can open carry a rifle with 30 rounds of ammunition duct taped to another 30 rounds, then I should be able to carry a broadsword to the mall, damn it.
Since you've been
I should be able to nerd out and cosplay knighthood.
president, who's the toughest person that you've had to negotiate with?
Well, I don't really think anybody's hard to negotiate with. I basically don't think. I think I've been very good. I've gotten great marks and great ratings.
I think the hardest are the, I say, okay, people always ask, who's the toughest? Is it Russia? Is it China? Could it be North Korea? Who's the toughest, sir? I say, the toughest is the United States of America, because we have people on the other side that are vicious, and I think they're more vicious in many respects than any of the leaders I deal with.
Well, that's because you side with Russia, China, and North Korea over what is best for the American people.
Look what they put us through. A phony Russian.
If I hadn't become president, you know, Hillary wouldn't have used rubber bullets on the American people. You know, she would have.
A phony impeachment that was thrown out like dogs.
That's the negotiation? You're going to talk about negotiations in terms of the Mueller report? Look, dude, just release the Mueller grand jury testimony and show everyone exactly how innocent you are.
We won in the House 196-0 with the Republicans. Not one Republican. Never happens with the Republicans.
It's funny how the Republicans just fell in line in a way they don't do with other Republican presidents. Just because the RNC's email server was leaked, it was hacked, and none of the stuff from it was leaked. It was just kept. That's weird.
And in the Senate, it was 52.5 to a half.
A half. It was a half? Who's the half?
When you think of that, that was Mitt Romney, a real winner. You know, he still hasn't gotten over the fact that he got destroyed by Barack Obama. I always tell Mitt Romney, you know, if you would have fought this hard with Obama, you could have won that race, okay? I could have won that
No, he couldn't have.
race easier than beating Crooked Hill. Would have been easier.
And you're going to lose to Obama's vice president.
But we have to have a country. Difficult people to deal with are the Democrats.
We're getting into the creepy cult whisper.
That's because sometimes I think they don't love our country, and that's a very.
They don't love our country because why?
Sad thing.
Yeah, you have.
That was his answer to who's the most difficult to negotiate with.
Picture of your dad right behind your desk. You've always spoken fondly of your father, Fred. If he could see you now as president of the United States, what do you think he'd say?
Well,
he'd say, "Well, I should have been in it, but
I'm actually."
He always had great confidence in me, but I don't think he ever saw this was something that I was going to do. You know, one day I said, "Let's do it." We did it, and I won.
He always thought you'd be a great businessman, but the idea of run a free
world. He was always good. Look, I had a great business, and it did really.
No, he didn't. Never a day of profit. Borrowed from his own siblings' trust fund that Fred left behind for them just for operating cash to keep his company afloat until the only people that would lend him money were the Russians, and now we know the Chinese.
Well, with my business, and I loved it.
No, you didn't. It was all a charade.
But so, you know, if you think about it, Biden and Obama, don't forget, Obama campaigned against me the last time. I think in a certain way harder than Hillary Clinton. I think he actually campaigned harder.
No, he didn't.
Than Hillary. But he was all over the place. You remember that? He was flying all over on Air Force One campaigning against me. And
campaigning for Hillary Clinton. He's a Democrat, she's a Democrat.
Biden, I'm only here because of them. Because they did such a bad job. I said, somebody's got to change this around. China.
Yeah, is that why?
Was killing us. They were all killing us. I'm only here because of Joe Biden and Obama.
Yeah. I've seen you and the First Lady interact. She's such an important part of your life.
She is?
How much do you rely?
Which one? I mean, there are several robot copies, and we only get to see, I mean, I don't know. I only go by which nose I see.
On her to get feedback on messaging and decisions that you make.
Yeah, right.
I consult women about how I talk. Yeah, sure.
So she's treated unfairly, but the people love her. The people love her. When I
Well, then why is she treated unfairly? What are you talking about?
make a speech, they have signs. We love our first. All over. You've seen it. Hundreds of signs. We love our first lady. They have sometimes pictures of high heels. It's beautiful. They love Melania. They really do love her. She's a very elegant woman. She is a very confident woman in herself. She's very confident in herself. She doesn't have to get off an airplane and go crazy waving, and they love that. They love.
What? That's a sign of confidence that she's not like. So anybody who waves when they get off a plane has low self-esteem. What are you talking about?
She doesn't have to actually look like she's happy to be anywhere. People just assume.
You know, she doesn't. Oh, wow, and start going crazy.
She does. You mean she never looks like she's happy to be anywhere?
Great job.
Do you rely on her? Do you rely on her?
I do. She's got great judgment. Great judgment. I do.
Well, We'll see what the prenup looks like. See if she has good judgment.
So I listened to her. She's got a very good way, very calm. She's a very calm person, and she's got a great judgment about things. She had great judgment on the Russian witch hunt. She knew
immediately that I wouldn't like it.
immediately. She said, "You never did anything wrong. What is that?"
Yeah, you tell her all the business stuff. You never did anything wrong. What are they talking about? Nothing. Just don't talk to Don Jr. or Jeffrey Epstein.
She's got, something very special, and people see that and they like her.
Yeah, they like how she was a birther right alongside me.
They do. So you talked about Jeff Sessions being a mistake. Is there any other mistakes that you think that you've made, or people that you shouldn't have hired, or that you regret?
Well, I've made a lot of great moves. I've hired some great people. You know some of them, but we have some great people in.
You know some of them. I don't mean you.
Government. No,
I hope
Jeff
I'm
Sessions
I'm on the bad list, right?
No, you're on a good list. You did a very good job, and you're doing very good now, and you did very well in Dancing with the Stars.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I think a lot of our fans were out there. I don't know if you were quite as good as your result, but
I think
we'll leave
your
that.
support was better than my dancing.
I think you had a lot of great support. Well, that's because people like you and respect you, but
Thanks, sir.
not necessarily as a dancer.
No.
But that's okay. But no, Sessions was a mistake, a big mistake for me, and this stuff should have never happened. It's now coming out that it should have never started. They had no evidence, they had no proof, they had no nothing.
Has anyone surprised you, though, to go the other way? Is there someone that you brought into your administration? You weren't from politics, you'd been a businessman, a successful reality
He means Rex Tillerson. Say Rex Tillerson.
star. You had all these other things, but you didn't know a lot about politics in the hiring sense.
Right.
Has someone come into your administration that's been a superstar?
Yeah, I have. I think I have numerous people that are superstars. I don't want to go over it now because then I'll leave somebody out and they'll say, "Oh," but I have numerous people. They're doing a fantastic job. Look, I'm already partially through rebuilding our economy for the second time. We're going to have an economy very soon.
Basically, what he's saying is, I'm the superstar. That's what he's saying. I don't want to mention anybody else because I don't give a shit about those folks. There are no superstars. I'm the superstar.
So people would say, "Will it be in 10 years?" It'll be soon. It'll be next year. We're gonna have a phenomenal year next year, unless a guy like Biden wins and he wants, they want to raise everybody's taxes through the roof. What's that all about? You'll kill it. You'll totally kill what will be soon another golden goose. I built it once, and remember, artificially closed. If we didn't do that, we would have lost 2.5 million people. 1.5, 2.5.
If we didn't do anything.
Lost anywhere from 10 to 20 or 25 times more people than we lost. We did the right thing, but now it's time to open. But we have a lot of people that are really good. Yeah, a lot of people of superstar status. I would say that's true.
Who?
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate
Thank
you
very
joining
much.
us, Max.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, God. Oh, and we have closing graphics. Hold on.
When we return, I'll be back in the studio to discuss the president's comments.
Super exciting. Spicer and Company. It's just amazing. I learned so much. Good God. So let's we'll finish up here so you guys can get on with your evening. I appreciate you dropping by the way. By the way, I'll be on tomorrow. Let's see. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And so I'll hopefully see you then. That would be kind of lovely. And more makeup tips, I guess, will be a lovely part. I have some work to do for the Sexy Liberal show that I'm going to be working on tonight, and I'm very excited about it. So I hope those of you that are joining us, I think there are still, they're now making more tickets available to watch. The VIP is completely sold out, but there are other tickets available for just seeing the show. And if you miss it or you can't watch it on Saturday night, you'll be able to go to the site where it, follow the link and all that kind of stuff and watch it after the fact at the site as if live, which is pretty cool. It will, obviously we won't have another meet and grope, but if you're not doing that anyways, you can watch it the next day too. So that's cool. And I'm not sure how long they're leaving it up. It might just be 24 hours, but that's a Stephanie Miller group question. But we move FaceTime later. Thank you, V. Gabriel. Good to see you again. So yeah, the FaceTime is moved to 5 o'clock my time, so we'll do it before that. So I'll be on at 3 and then off by 5 for tomorrow. So if there's not some superseding craziness going on. But you know, and of course, obviously the schedule matters tomorrow and all that stuff too. So, but we'll find plenty of stuff to do. Oh, thank you, Christina F. For making me laugh so much tonight. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys jumping in with me. Absolutely. I don't, you know. Oh, that's really nice. B. Gabriel just sent you something from both of us. Oh, that's sweet, Jess Dollface. Thanks. Yeah, thank you guys for the super chat support today. I really appreciate it. That was really awesome. I mean, fantastic. So you're doing a fantastic job. Tomorrow, yeah, 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, I'll be on streaming. And then, of course, Friday, same thing. Saturday, we will be doing the regular radio show, and then the Sexy Liberal show is that night. So, and I'm cooking up something special for Sunday for the live stream. So I'm not going to say anything about it because I got to see if I can actually arrange it. Yeah, you need a backstage pass, Richard, to the show. Yeah, just let everybody in. Eventually, we'll get there. Eventually, we'll be doing this show with a live crowd and all that kind of stuff. Oh, thanks, Jess. Yeah, if you do the bits on Twitch, it does the Zoltan thing, which is pretty cool. I've been working on it behind the scenes. I've been working on it. And thank you again to our patrons, patreon.com/Hal Sparks. Great way to support the show. You can also use PayPal. And I wanted to, where's my phone? I wanted to mention that somebody else had also PayPal'd that since the last time we spoke. Isha, thank you so much. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I don't know if it's Aisha. It could be ISHA. I'm leaving it wide open, but I appreciate that very much. Thank you so much. That was between when we read it out last time. And Matthias, Deuteronomy of Gath. Yes. Did I say yes? Yes. Matthias, thank you as well. So I wanted to mention those folks who had done the PayPal thing. PayPal.me/Hal Sparks is a great way to support the show and keep this thing rolling. If I've realized that post pandemic and when life starts to normalize a little bit, the only way my agent is going to even let me continue is if it becomes something they can take a cut of. I have no doubt that's going to plan on it. If they do that, then I'm going to need advertisers, and it's not going to come from you guys. That's a push. But either way, it only helps if you like and subscribe to the show. Give us a thumbs up. If you're on Periscope or you watch on Twitch, or subscribe on Twitch, that really helps out along with the follow. But if you're on, it helps if everybody goes over, even if you watch it on another site, go over to YouTube to the channel and like and subscribe to the channel there. That helps immensely as far as the numbers. We're consistently growing. Yes, we need digital bouncers. That may be something that's happening, but we'll figure that out. I also have another I don't know. I have another format of how to do live shows for Sexy Liberal that I might push on them. So this will be the first time trying this Run the World setup where we're doing it this week, and I'm doing the instructional videos, but we will be doing that regularly, I think monthly, even if we continue the live shows. So, and it may end up being that we just take the live show that we do and we post it as one of those, and then do a meet and grope afterwards for people who can't be there. So I would want personally, wherever we do the live shows, to stream the live show so you guys can watch it as it happens. And then afterwards, we go backstage and we have a meet and grope with you guys after our other meet and grope. You know what I mean? They're going to send out that they're going to charge sales tax now. Oh, okay. Patreon's going to start doing sales tax because of California and a couple other states have started doing that or whatever. So sorry, everybody, and I hope that doesn't affect anybody's situation, but I appreciate it. If you can stay on. Yes, I don't know how you do a virtual grope YouTube. We're just calling it that because I'm going to end up in my underwear. I just know it at some point. Either way, unless you come to Newfoundland, I can only watch online. Well, I will eventually make it stand-up wise to Newfoundland no matter what. So, yes. But rest well, be well, take care of yourself, and take care of somebody else. reach out to somebody, tell them you love them and miss them during all this craziness. If you have somebody that might be in an area where there's unrest and there's been other stuff, check in on them. See if how they're holding up, whether their family's doing well, whether it's just shocking that they got little kids in the house and they're a little stressed out. You know, give them a call. You know, I just think everybody needs a little extra love right now. And again, we are all members of the Broom Brigade. We will find some way, even if it's not direct cleanup. I don't know what the curfews and stuff will happen around these things, but that doesn't stop you from weeks from now going to a part of town that normally doesn't get any love and go, hey, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna sweep your stoop. I'm just gonna sweep up the area a little bit, see if I can help out. Let me know if you need a paint job. I got a free Saturday coming up. I can bring some friends over and we can help make your store look a little nice. You know, I'm not in a glass company. I can't replace your broken windows, but I can paint around the edges. I can do that. Thanks, Joe. Well, if you have a comedy club in Newfoundland, I'll be there. I will find a way. Was just chatting with someone. I haven't talked to him in a bit. That's great. So, yeah. So take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. We will see you tomorrow. You guys are fantastic. I appreciate you more than you know, and I look forward to seeing you every day. And now I'm going to go play Fortnite with my kid and have dinner. Maybe at the same time if he talks me into it. We'll see.
That was really cool, by the way.
We need you. Hell, I need you. I'm a mess without you. I miss you so damn much. I miss being with you. I miss being near you. I miss your laugh. I miss your scent. I miss your musk. When this all gets sorted out, I think you and me should get an apartment together.
We're honored to have with us today our amazing Vice President, Mike Pence, and his wonderful wife, Karen.
Moon River.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
All right. Who wants some? Who's next?
Just looking around here, I can tell you're a genuinely dirty person.
Did you hear that? Yeah. It's a dickper. What's a dickper? To pee with.
He thinks I made it up.
Unbelievable.
You have nobody guarding your potatoes.
What do you say we cut the chit-chat a-hole?
And you know, when you say per capita, there's many per capita. It's just like per capita relative to what?
That was really cool, by the way.
How, in the name of Zeus's butthole, did you get out of your cell? Butthole!
You have nobody guarding your potatoes.
You using the whole piss doc?
Butthole!
Drop your shorts and bend over, Mr. Babar.
Sportos, motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, dickheads. They all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
Just follow the money. Just follow the money. I gotta barbecue your assy molasses!
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Butthole!
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
I couldn't think of a more horrible job if I wanted to. And you have to do it. Am I getting through to you?